This week on RSBANDB Update, Eclipse of the Heart ends the Desert series. Bringing Icthlarin's family together, we meet Tumeken, discuss his Zaros connections, and see why all roads lead to Xau-Tak. With the Soul Beacon severing Amascut's control, 24 years of story comes to an end. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 1048, recorded Thursday, July 31st, 2025. Furries out, boys. Hello, everybody, and welcome to RSBANDB Update. This week, Quest Week is back, of course, the finale of the Desert series with Eclipse of the Heart. We have three folks in addition to myself who have done this quest this week. Starting off, Avernick, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a big week.
Avernick is one of our go-tos for quests and lore from the scrying pool, and just in general, the fun fellow to talk to when it comes to extending out the RuneScape lore stuff, right?
I would hope so. Otherwise, I don't know why you keep me around.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing I always go to, is you were one of the people that was always so worried that you were going to say something wrong and you wouldn't get invited back.
Oh, no, you remembered I said that.
Yeah, but that was never an issue. That was never going to happen, and you're here now.
Perfect. I have all the right opinions, sounds like. Yeah.
Also, here's Pernasius, everyone's second favorite Australian.
You can get the first on, so you got me, and Avernick, you're safe because I say things wrong all the time and I keep getting invited back, so...
my shield, thank you.
And, of course, Zerdones from Clan Quest. Welcome back, Zerdones.
I was thinking about starting to sing Total Eclipse of the Heart as my intro, but I thought better of it because I think if I did that, you actually wouldn't invite me back.
Well, if you want to actually hear a funny story about that song, in 2019, was out with a bunch of people in the U.S., and one of them might have been a little bit drunk, and they started singing the American National Anthem. And about a third way through the American National Anthem, it turned into Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Excellent. Someone call Congress? I want to make that official. That's canon.
How does that not happen every time?
And unfortunately,
so much better.
I was busy with other things, so I couldn't get the phone rolling. But that did indeed happen. So
excellent. That should be official now.
In any case, big, huge thank you to our experienced tier Patreon members for allowing us to do what we do each and every week. This week, that is Amos Reed, Bladecom, Dominic R., Jade Gizmo, Jason S., Jesse W., Kesky, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Ricky A., Runestar, Psyoasis, Snail Mage, The Naked Captain, and Tim. Big, huge thank you, everybody. You'll hear more about Patreon a bit later in the podcast, but of course, in the meantime, full show notes can be found over at update.show. We also have our friends chatting game that you can find at BitsBytes, and the Discord is over at update.show/Discord. So for people who haven't joined us here for Quest Week before, just know spoilers ahead, as we are going to be talking about the entirety of the contents of Eclipse of the Heart. So just be forewarned if you haven't done the quest or you're in the middle of it and you don't want to hear about it just quite yet. That's what this episode is about, so spoilers ahead. But we start the quest off with a trip into the desert, Menaphos in particular, discovering that Amascut is coming faster than people thought, and the sky has been eclipsed. And we get this eclipse skybox as a reward for completing the quest. What was everybody's first initial
How good did it look?
Thoughts of the environment stepping on the pyramid?
Loved it.
Skybox.
It is. It just kind of fits in and gives a sense of doom, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Making the sun look like the cat's eye, I thought, they just...
Yep.
But subtly, not, it's just they really... And that tinge that it gave was really good skybox.
The green is really nice.
It's a bit weird we had an ultimatum about Eclipse in the desert twice, but,
When was the first time?
No one ever said she was subtle.
Wasn't
Slisky's Endgame?
Oh, right. Okay.
No. totally. This is if you don't think about that, this is great. This is great.
Oh yeah.
Well, that was God. When was Slisk's Endgame? That's more than 10 years ago.
2016.
Okay, not more than 10
9
years. Almost 10 years ago.
Do you feel old?
Well,
I think we're allowed to have an eclipse every 10 years.
I have a strong memory of Slisk's Endgame, because that quest came out the week before Christmas when I normally, record the 2 bonus shows, and I had to struggle to find people for that podcast because everybody was traveling for Christmas, in addition to spending about 8 hours doing that quest going through the maze. So it's a quest I don't forget.
Yeah.
But
getting through the first maze and then seeing you got to do it again, that was I love that.
But nothing.
There were less mazes in this quest.
Yeah, there were 0 mazes in this quest. The quest after heading out from the Grand Pyramid and starting it by talking with Leela, you effectively, do the classic RuneScape rounding up of characters for whatever purpose. In this case, it's the need for an evacuating people from all around the desert and bringing them into Menaphos here to safety. And as people were expecting, one of the evacuees is indeed the Sphinx, so you need your cat.
Yep, gotta go to your house, gotta pull the cat out. I liked this. It was a nice throwback to Icthlarin's Little Helper, because a lot of the NPCs are characters from that quest.
Yeah,
an acceptable level of friction.
Yeah,
definitely,
it wasn't hard.
definitely very immediate though.
It was just you go and
immediately have to stop what I'm doing, go get the cat. I didn't think I needed that fast.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a little. I did find the phasing on Soften to be a little annoying. I like how, like, one of the things that annoyed me, I think I remember talking about this on I think it was the Murder on the Border episode, where they added the little spinny quest icon to enter an instance. And I noticed with this quest, they changed that in most places, so it's like a contextual NPC. So, like, for Soften, I'm like, there's Ozan, and you talk to Ozan, and he brings you into the instance. And I like that from it makes sense narratively, but also makes it really easy to forget, oh, wait, I'm not in the instance.
I think I saw a Reddit post or 3 about, they're like, why isn't this working? I'm talking to this person I'm supposed to be talking to. I was just talking to them. They said, get the cat, brought it back, and it isn't working. Then again, on the other side of it, there are complaints that the questy icon is used a little too much. I think they've absolutely toned it down since, like, Murder on the Border and Ancient Awakening, when they were using it just for, like, the grave by the river or something like that. But it does seem at least a little helpful. You just gave an anecdote that it was, so I don't think we should be 100% retired.
There's pros and cons.
I feel like there's been, discussions going way back to Elder God Wars and before that quest wayfinding in general just needs to be better, and I think that helps in addition, to the NPCs that you're looking for when you have the spinny icon like that. So,
maybe I think it's like a middle ground where they put a spinning icon over an NPC's head.
I was just thinking that would
it's still the NPC, but they're at least marked. Yeah,
right. They're
because that's
marked
what every other MMO does. Pretty much,
especially if they're an entrance into an instance. Like, that's a big thing.
Anyways,
to get the right interactions.
I think that's a relatively minor concern compared to everything else here. And the thing that was my minor concern in the quest was how do I pick my cat up, because there was no right click option. So I would go to dismiss follower, and you're given the option of either release pet or pick up, and oh god, if you press the wrong one.
Yeah,
there goes your
don't send your poor 20-year-old cat away.
If you just got it back.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, based on when some of us did Gertrude's cat, that could be a cat. Because don't some breeds of cat live to like 20 years?
I think house cats can live to 20.
Yeah,
mine's currently 13. So hopefully
there you go. There you go.
Nice. Mine turned into an overgrown hellcat through the quest.
Well,
they always
you go.
do.
But after you've brought the evacuation in, you go find your other evacuation target by investigating the Sophanum Slayer dungeon. And this is where the combat in the quest begins.
Before we get into that, there's a bit that we skipped over, which is there's one of the evacuees you have to talk to last, because
the one that becomes Amascut.
Amascut in disguise, and we get our first look at the new Amascut model.
Did you see how tall she was?
That was not the first thing I noticed.
Okay, what did you notice?
The first thing I noticed was, did they have to make the cat model so damn sexy?
I thought you were going to say the tail.
Nope. Tail was the second thing I noticed. First thing I noticed was furries out, boys.
It just shows you cats are evil. You should stick to dogs.
Yeah. World Guardian's best friend.
The model's great, though. The model's great.
It's a very good model. A lot of detail went into it.
Oh, yeah. I liked the notes they had during the stream they did on Wednesday about, like, it needs to be, like, the same amount of, like, animal/humanness as a Icthlarin, right?
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
And I think they nailed it.
Yes, it does.
It's great.
Very immediately.
Like, they have good uses for it for the boss.
Did you guys see in this portion of the dialogue you can meow at her?
Yes. And obviously I did.
I did too.
I don't know what was in me on Monday.
Nothing happens.
I was channeling my inner Zemmereagle, and I did every chaotic action I could. So yes, I meowed.
Excellent.
Okay, so seriously, nobody else thought, gee, Amascut is tall?
No, she's tall,
I thought she was very tall. Yeah.
No, I mean, I did notice it, but...
Okay. All right.
She was very tall.
Huge.
I mean, Icthlarin's pretty tall, too.
I think they said specifically Mod Dragon made this one, and I think Mod Dragon makes so many great character models.
Yeah.
So
and to be fair, all the models for this quest are in that top tier. We'll get to
We're going to get to more.
Bit of the art
this was
stuff
not my favorite.
after on that. So that does indeed lead us back to the Sophonim Slayer dungeon after a brief discussion with Ozan after that. And, this part of the quest, I think, surprised a lot of us here, because this is the first combat encounter in the quest. And I came in with, 4 sailfish soup and 10 blue blubber jellyfish, and that wasn't enough.
I think I had 10 sharks, and I made it through with 0 sharks at the end, but I at least made it through.
You didn't die?
I, after 30 seconds, remembered that Blood Siphon existed.
Excellent.
So it wasn't on my bar, but I quickly opened the necromancy abilities and used it a couple times.
So you're like the only one of us here who didn't die during this bit.
I guess I was lucky.
I went in with 3 sharks.
Okay, well, that's kind of to be expected there.
When they said, we knew the combat was coming there, obviously, investigate that, the arcs were going to come out. I thought they were just going to be, like the other one where we were running around the city saving people.
The Devourer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. So I thought, they'll be like that, so it'll be fine. And you get stunned 3 times in a row. You can't eat. And I'm sitting there just watching my bar go down and down and down. So yeah, died the first time. Went and got some more food and a overload, and yeah, second time round was fine.
There's a lot of them.
I did make it to the last. I got to the last wave at least.
Oh, wow.
But that was the thing. You had to actually start again. It wasn't just come back, start at the last wave. No, you do the whole lot again.
That was a little annoying, too. I mean, it's not too bad, but...
No, I think the
first
fact...
time in a while where, other than a final boss, where there was combat in a quest that was actually challenging.
Yes, and I wanted to actually bring that up in terms of the combat difficulty in this quest. Because I feel like... my playthrough on the GIM has told me that the modern stuff, Elder God Wars, and after with the, I'm going to assume, exception of Extinction, but definitely into the Civil War and whatnot after that, has been relatively part of an era that has been focused on making it so that quests can be played if you are not the best combat person here. But they actually went all out here to the point where I think that based on the tier of quests that we're dealing with here, I think the combat at this part was appropriately difficult.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'd take higher, but this is fine for a minimum.
Yeah, because they could go with more, and the reason this is in my mind is because last week I just did the Varlamore finale quest that Old School put out, and granted, I don't have best in slot gear over there. It's still very much a combat level 95 character. That's something that I was able to get through, and it was still able to provide a certain level of difficulty with it, which I think it's just so interesting to come back to RS3 and experience that same, okay, we got a maxed character here. This is going to be a little bit difficult for you. What's this going to be for somebody who's, just leveling up? And maybe I pull you in, Avernick, on this too, because you did that Varlamore quest as well, in terms of the combat being sprinkled throughout that, similarly to what we had here.
Yeah, I did that quest under leveled, but I think something that quest did was that all of the bosses, and whenever Old School makes a quest, there's like 4 bosses in them. They're all so mechanic heavy, and they don't have to deal with abilities or anything like that. So like, if you know all of the squares you can't stand on at certain times, and all of the correct prayers you need to make sure you be put back on because they disabled your prayer, as long as you have enough prayer potions, you're probably not taking damage and you need food. So I think there's a little bit of a like, how do you deal with that in RS3, where like you need the chip damage, protection prayers are only 50%, yada yada yada. I think in Old School they can rely really heavily on it being a mechanic heavy fight.
Yeah.
And you can't rely on it so heavily here. I think some of the better fights are mechanic heavy, like Nakatra or what seemed like Amascut was. I don't know, I'm talking way down the quest, but like smaller fights seem harder to pull off at like a set difficulty level.
Yeah. And it I think it raises a wider question too, is that should the quests going forward go back to kind of a world where there is a little bit more difficult combat? Because we haven't had that for a long time outside of the boss fights.
More fun.
I'm gonna be play both sides. Yes, I think the con could be harder. I think that a lot of the parts of the quest could be harder.
Mm-hmm.
I understand they're trying not to like
foreshadowing,
like the puzzles when we get there.
Sure. That's probably where I'm going. I understand they don't want to like alienate a percentage of people because X is harder because those people don't interact with X's so much.
Yeah, and that's a philosophical discussion to have, honestly.
100%. There's always power creep. There's always wiki for puzzles. There's always the wiki. But we'll get to that stuff.
Yeah. But overall, I just wanted to call out the combat there because I think that was a interesting and welcome surprise at that. Also appearing in this fight to help you is Het and Apmeken.
Showing off
those
their
models rock.
How good was Apmeken?
That's the best one. That's my favorite for sure.
Yep, I love that one.
Yeah, and
the movements. The fighting movements. I just stood back for a bit and just zoomed in and just watched him fight, and it's just like, or her fight. But yeah, it was just, I just loved it. That just made it look. It just reminded me of the old Monkey Magic show.
It is 90% inspired by like Wukong and all that myth and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
100% here for it.
The animations are great. This is very much a me thing, but I find the Apmeken model, especially the face, kind of off-putting.
Oh,
and I know why. I know why. It's that uncanny valley thing between human and monkey.
It's the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
It's the uncanny valley. I felt the same way about her old model, too. It's like, it's a human, but wrong. And that's entirely a me thing, and I get it.
It could be less human for you.
Yeah. Well, because like it's monkey, so it's already human-ish, and then you try to make the monkey more human, and it just
a little.
For me, it goes into that weird place.
Yeah, and one thing we'll also be doing throughout this episode is we'll be pulling periodically from the live stream They mentioned on the live stream that Apmeken was one of the models that they definitely wanted to get in for this quest because it was one of the oldest in terms of what was needed to be reworked for this.
Her original model dates back to Icthlarin's Little Helper, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's the last
I thought it was Do No Evil.
Yes, you're right. Oh, okay. She was in Do No Evil, but did she get a model update? I don't.
Was
remember.
it the same model between the two? I know there's like a thing that appears that says Apmeken. I don't think it's really. I don't know.
It must have been. I'm
gonna hope it was Do No Evil. I hope it wasn't Icthlarin's Little Helper.
Yeah, there's 9 years between, so there's got to be.
There's got to be some improvements there.
Yeah. So referencing what you said about like they needed Apmeken's model to be new because it is absolutely the oldest one of the four demigods. I think Madzura had said in the Discord today yesterday that they finished Apmeken's model with Pharaoh's Folly's graphical budget. So when they made Pharaoh's Folly and they said, yeah, we're not putting new graphics into this, we need to save them for this quest. That was when they were making Apmeken because they had all these characters they needed to make models for.
Right.
That's smart.
That makes sense.
This has been a long time coming. 3 months if you count when it was done, but
because they had three. They had 3 character models. Scabrous, for dealing with Scabrous or not. I keep making that mistake. I keep meaning Scabrous' Sands, but I keep saying dealing with Scabrous.
That's a wrong decade.
Yeah, very much wrong decade.
But our interactions with Het, Apmeken, Krondus, and Scabrous continue because the next part of the quest is getting the blessings of the Pantheon to enable us to go forward with this. So we've already met 2 of them here. Just south of the Slayer dungeon, and it felt like a nice callback to go back and get the blessing since we did that in various quests and mini quests throughout the years. So it's kind of one of those things that the Grandmaster quest would always do.
Yeah, it was kind of a callback to like the Menaphos quests. I do like. There's a dialogue line. I think it's when we're talking to Het, and Het's like, "You have to do a task to get my blessing." And the character's like, haven't I done enough for you people? I'm glad somebody pointed that out.
Wasn't there also the point where one of them, I think it was Het, called it one small favor?
Oh, I didn't.
I don't remember that. I remember Krondus had a thing after you did Krondus's task.
Oh, she was alluding.
She was like, and another thing.
Yes.
And you're like, oh no. And then she's like, because, like, obviously Krondus's Crocodile Tears quest did that whole one small favor chain of task thing.
Yeah. I think I'm going to want to talk about it more when we get to later in the quest with what Amascut does at the end. But one of the things mentioned, I think, on the live stream, at least in Discord, was that the big theme of the quest was that actions are louder than words, and I think this section is trying to get that across.
That's a good point.
You can't just be friends with these people. You have to do an action to get their favor.
You have to do something.
And
I don't know.
Go ahead. Finish it.
I was going to say, I don't know if that appears elsewhere in the quests other than at the end, but I'm glad they at least got it in here if that was the theme. I think I have a couple more thoughts around how well that theme got across without being told it.
Yeah, Het's task is to basically run a lap of the agility course. Krondus's is to pick one of the perfect flowers from each of the flowering spots at Het's Oasis.
Yep. Yeah, they're very
simple.
They're not very intensive.
No, technically we're friends with all these people at this point. They're not trying to put us through our through the rings. Yeah.
Well, we're friends with them, and also we've done so many favors for them.
Yes, that's it. And Het points that out when he says, "Listen, we can't just give it. There has to be something done. So my one is going to run a lap." Just a small task, just a token thing to show that, yes, you've got to do something and that, because that is the way the blessing comes. So I think they did that well. You have to do something, but we're going to make it as easy as possible for you.
Yep.
I was surprised that before this quest, 65 agility wasn't somewhere in the desert requirements, because this quest has a 65 agility requirement, and because you have to do the lap. And apparently we didn't need higher than that before somehow. I think it was even like you only needed 50 for like Crocodile Tears to get the pyramid agility course done. So the requirement is so low. I was just surprised when I saw it. I was like, huh, I would have thought something. So one of these traps in a pyramid would have required something higher.
Yeah, because those early desert quests were really, really asinine with all the agility stuff.
There was an implicit requirement that you needed your max levels to not get like constantly jumping in a pit.
And then Icthlarin's little helper, and it didn't even matter.
Yeah.
So
that's where the auras were great back then. You just slap on an aura so you don't fail
it.
Oh, that aura works in the quest?
Yep. Well, I don't know in this quest because I mean, obviously I'm 90 something, but in those older quests, I couldn't do them all in a row because the aura had run out, and I'm going, nah, I'm waiting because I'm not falling down the pit 27 times. So that'll be done tomorrow.
The quest
after aura reset.
Right.
The quest requirement was a lie. The actual requirement was 30 levels higher.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
So after we pick the flowers and do the agility lap, we need to get Apmeken's favor, and this is the return to the monkey colony, and this one is not a happy return.
No, sad this one.
Because
it seems okay. You're just going to get some ice cream first, right? Real quick.
Yeah. Ice cream break, and then sad.
And I was taking some like pictures with Apmeken following me. It's like, oh, I love it when they do like this follow. They've really made a nice follower system.
You
for
can
NPCs,
just surge everywhere, and it automatically comes back with
surge. He's running right behind you. Like you have this Eclipse sunset.
You can teleport.
It's great.
Yeah.
And then you come back after the ice cream trip, and
I wasn't expecting that.
Let's go get ice cream. And then
killing off 3 wise monkeys is an attack on our souls.
And then they come back, and the monkeys are dead.
It's harsh. Yeah.
So they were half dead. Sorry, they were half dead. They got turned into mini bosses.
Yeah, they got the reincarnation of the Do No Evil bosses.
And this is the second bit of combat in the quest that, again, if you're not prepared for, it could be difficult. I don't think it was as difficult as the axe, but
yeah.
Well, these were full-on boss monsters.
Some mechanics.
This was the final boss of Do No Evil.
Yeah.
Like they're unequipping your helmet. They're summoning demons, stuff like that. And each time you kill one of them, Apmeken is saying some like, "I'm putting you to rest." Like,
yeah, it gives them a memorial.
Dear God, these monkeys did not deserve this. They've got like 10 lines in this quest tops overall.
Well,
and after being forgotten for a decade.
One of the it's not a universal rule, but a rule that I quite like for storytelling, particularly like this kind of melodrama storytelling, is give us a reason to dislike the villain. Show us early why the villain is bad. Don't just tell us they're bad. Show us why they're bad.
Yeah, she's screwing with
well, they showed me she was bad by being a cat, but anyway.
Okay, that's a huge thing.
That's only 50% of people.
I don't like cats either, but I won't go that far.
All cats are evil.
This is absolutely the worst thing she does in the quest, and it is.
Yes.
I feel like it's entirely overshadowed by the rest of the quest. Like
You're sad over this. You know what?
We're going to forget about it in 10 minutes.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, after Do No Evil, it felt as though that there could have been some sort of follow-up to the monkey colony quest.
The colony.
Yeah.
You have the little statues you can get by doing the stupid amount of chalk ice runs, but not much more than that, and now they're gone. And this is probably where this sits forever as it is.
There is apparently some dialogue with them if you talk to them before you get ice cream.
Oh,
I didn't see what that dialogue is. So there is a little bit of something, but...
Okay.
Not to mention, Apmeken still won't show her face to them while they're alive. She's still staying hidden, doing that little cheeky thing where only we can see her.
I thought that was a little bit interesting. in terms of...
That was how it worked in Do No Evil.
Yeah, because basically the idea behind that is one that it would like corrupt them or something. Am I getting that right, or what is it exactly?
So she was ashamed. She was ashamed.
So she didn't want to appear to her monkeys, the people.
Yeah, because she
never got
the chance to kill them. Right, like they died, and she never had a chance
got the most tragic story of this quest, 100%.
But you can't keep her down, which there's something admirable in that.
I guess so. I might be skipping a little to the end, but I've definitely seen calls for having the monkeys live in going forward.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Wouldn't hate that. They deserve a little
justice.
Not
hate that at all.
Hang out with Vorkath.
If you talk to them before going to get the ice cream, they say the Devourer's minions have tried to battle us but have proved no match. The colony remains strong. And then you say, has Apmeken been helping out? She's here in spirit, keeping us together. And that's where they go back into that thing where they can't
she was. Seen. We took her away for ice cream.
So, and then it's a classic reference to do no evil, hear no evil, see no evil in terms of talking to them. But the monkeys are no more. Is there anything else on Apmeken's favor that you guys want to discuss before moving on?
No. It's too sad.
Yeah.
You're sad.
And that's the thing. As you said, it's overshadowed by the entirety of the quest.
Unfortunately, the quest is so
bigger.
Kicks it into high gear after this point.
Yeah. But I'm going to thank some Patreon supporters. Then we'll continue off with the quest's first puzzle and where it really kicks into high gear. So this week I'd like to thank Alvaro L, Amos Reed, Arvids L, Bladecom, Chilbura, Dominic R, Duramax, Gila Fleur, Imperialis, Jade Gizmo, Jason S, Jesse W, Julia W, Keski, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Michelle M, Mongrath, Pernasius, Ricky A, Robbie D, Runestar, RRman NZ, Samuel FL, Scott DS, Shirtpants, Cyoaces, Smavin, Snail Mage, The Naked Captain, The Dabbing Goat, Tim, Ukulele Steve, Woody, Zant, and Zazakon. Big, huge thank you, everybody. Patreon.com/RSBANDB if you want to support the podcast monetarily. We have a number of tiers of support available, starting for as little as $1 a month, and the whole business behind what we do here is to provide a little bit of extra content that people can get if they want to support the show. For that $1 a month starting price, you get access to what is now 85 plus extra monthly bit episodes. It's looking like the one we're going to be doing next month for that is the question of what comes next after the MTX experiments. RuneScape's Highs and Lows is perennially in second place, so we'll aim to get that to you in the first couple weeks of August. So if you want to hear that when it arrives, patreon.com/RSBNB and sign up for as little as $1 a month. And we do also have the VIP tier, where for $3 a month you receive a VIP rank on Discord, which includes chat channel access, a mention on the podcast at the start of the month, and high-quality stereo versions of the show. And we do also have the Insider tier, where for $5 a month you get a shout-out on the podcast each and every week. And you also, of course, get access to clips that we use to make the clip show at the end of the year, plus the RSBNB update Christmas card. Patreon.com/RSBNB. Very much looking forward to continuing that MTX discussion from a few weeks ago. I never thought I'd be saying that, and that Patreon would be the ones who would enable such a thing. But lo and behold, here we are. Thanks so much, everyone. All right. So, Tumeken. Of course Tumeken has to be in this quest, doesn't he?
That was the goal. Well,
you gotta see him at some point.
I don't know if we knew that we were going to be directly hearing from him. I think we all assumed.
I mean, it's not like any of this is entirely his fault or anything. we should maybe make a little bit of an appearance.
For all the quests this year and all the quests,
daddy issues
series that he might have had something to do with it.
Just a little.
I think the way I want to start out.
The answer for it.
the way I want to start out with this one is just a brief reminder of the desert family tree here. Because what we effectively have is a situation where Elidnus and Tumeken are the parents. And then you have Icthlarin and Amascut as the children, plus the demigods of Scabrous, Apmeken, Het, and Krondus.
The demigods are kind of, they're aspects of Tumeken as opposed to being...
They're purely
children.
Tumeken.
They're not children per se. That's more the lines of Amascut and Icthlarin.
Right.
I do like the point where they were talking they could elevate one to basically the same power, but because they had two, they were going to be powerful, but not quite as powerful as the parents.
Yeah, that was nice. I also liked the touch that Tumeken was the one who wanted to uplift Amascut. I thought that was a really nice touch in the context of, like, her whole arc is, oh, daddy didn't love me.
Yeah.
Which, like, he did. He was just really bad at showing it, which is a flaw, but it makes it a lot more tragic.
And I think that, and, you know, not to defend that sort of thing, but that makes sense when you look at what Tumeken is and where he came from.
Absolutely.
But
although that being said, he is definitely the most well-adjusted of
those. Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We got to talk about puzzles right now.
All right, talk about puzzles. Let's go.
So what we have here is a series of sliding puzzles at its core. The goal is to light up certain pieces of the puzzle with flame. And what you need to realize is that at the core of it, this is just like a clue sliding puzzle, but on a different track. Rather than up and down and on a grid, it's, you know, in various shapes. After that, it was just really a measure of, you know, realizing what the picture of it was supposed to look like, and then moving it off into that direction. I didn't necessarily think it was too difficult, I don't think.
No.
The only difficulty was I kept... Sorry, I kept clicking the icon of the
I kept
the god rather than the light grey. Yes,
I kept doing that too. My kingdom for a fixed overhead view.
Yeah.
Because like it's not just that; it's like you click on the icon, you start running, and then
and you run it towards it.
And trying to click
exactly.
Back.
You go, bugger! Yeah, no, that was the
And the part that I was just showing on the video version of the show was me figuring out that there's actually the tiles that you click on, and not the and not like the black bits. That's on the floor. So
I think these were engaging. I don't think they were difficult. Like they weren't
not really.
the City of Centistan blood puzzle.
You had to think, but it wasn't overly.
I thought the City of Centistan blood puzzle was simple because it was just an accounting ledger, really.
It's a different kind of puzzle.
If you have to open Excel, it is a different kind of puzzle, and that's fair. Like you can't. It's hard to compare the two puzzles.
The City of Centistan puzzle is a logic puzzle, whereas this is like I guess it's a logic puzzle in the sense that it boils down to graph theory, but group theory. But it is ultimately just a slider puzzle.
I will just leave it at I would welcome, in the same way I'd welcome more combat difficulty in my quests, I'd welcome more puzzle difficulty, especially because the wiki exists.
So you're ready for Elemental Workshop Part 5 then?
Bring it on. I'm not looking forward to it because I'm kind of a little done with going back to old quest series, but I'm here for the puzzles.
Let's just say it's not the light puzzle of the elf quest.
Oh, we'll talk about those later in the show. But Zerdones, tell us what you did for the third one here, the third block puzzle.
So I was asking this question in pre-show because the third puzzle I noticed has there's a plinth that's blocking one of the spots where you can move the things. And if you click on it, it gives you a clue on how to solve the puzzle. Like you need to line up like when my children are in a row or whatever, something like that. And if you examine it, the examine is something like, I bet I can move this. So I'm thinking, okay, I can move this somehow to get it easier. If I line up the icons of the children, this will, or of the demigods, this will make this go away, and then I'll be able to solve the puzzle easier. And when I finished it, I assumed I was wrong, and there was some other way to remove it, because I just solved the damn puzzle.
Which none of
my
us
efforts,
did.
my efforts to get them in a row, I just got it correctly somehow.
Yeah.
So that was fun for me. But all week I was like, was there like some lever or something I missed to get an optional easy mode? Was there like, if I left and talked to Scabarus, could I be like, hey, Scabarus, I'm having trouble. Can you make it easier for me? But no, I'm sorry. Just so great, I guess.
I am sorry you got less puzzle out of your puzzle.
I mean, I think I got more puzzle because it's clearly possible to do. It's just, it's if you take that away, it's the easy mode. And I kept thinking that as I was trying to get them all lined up. I was like, oh, damn it, if I just had that one extra space, this would be so much easier.
You happen in the configuration where it solved anything. I guess technically, I don't know what the odds are 100, like totally, but if you're trying to like get the row in a row and there's only 3 other pieces, isn't there like a 33% chance that you just happen to have the pieces in the right configuration?
Possibly. I don't know.
Maybe it's 1 in 6. Maybe it's 1 in 6 instead of 1 in 3 because there's 6 permutations and there's only one correct one.
Maybe.
But it doesn't seem like an uncommon experience. I had one clanmate that also said the same thing, that they just happened to get the other 3 in the right positions while they were trying to get the 4 together. So I don't think it's totally uncommon, but it is a good goal to set maybe. Like, you have 7 pieces there, like, what am I supposed to do with this? Where do I start?
And I think that creates
the first goal.
That's a good puzzle design if it can be solved multiple ways like that without, needing to go into that extra spot up top.
And I like conceptually, like, I don't disagree. I wouldn't dislike harder puzzles, although I thought these puzzles worked well. They escalated well, and I think they plateaued at a reasonably good difficulty. I like having ways to make the puzzles easier, because not everybody likes puzzles, and that's okay. Like,
right.
I think it's like the combat thing, where I think you should still do it, but you shouldn't be blocked by it.
And that's the philosophical discussion I think we need to have about quests going forward. Is it like it is in this quest where there's just one difficulty, or is it like it was in the Civil War series where there was things that were actually put on the table to just outright make it more easier through the accessibility and whatnot, both in terms of combat and the puzzles.
I used to be more of the mind that I'd prefer puzzles like in Desperate Times, like the Karos puzzle rooms where they were procedurally generated.
Right. Yep.
And you couldn't like 100% wiki them. You could wiki like parts of it, right? I used to be a little more in favor of those. I thought like, oh yeah, let's make these like you can't solve it unless you understand it. Yada yada yada. I was fooling myself. Whatever. But I think I've been convinced that you can have harder puzzles if they're wikiable, because then the barrier is that there's a bigger buffer zone of people that don't have to be able to solve it. They could look it up if they're not up to it, or if they're not feeling it, or yada yada yada. You can have harder puzzles if they're single solution, and I think I'd rather have that so that I could do it myself and be happy that I solved it, but not block other people.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one.
100%.
Yeah, and
I think on the combat side, I'm a little more...
Because you can't skip, right? Like, you can't wiki it.
No, you can't wiki it, but like, the thing about... it depends somewhat on the level of the quest. Like, obviously, this is the end of a quest series, so it should be more challenging. It has very high requirements. It's the end of a long
That's precisely
quest.
where I was going to go, is that this is the final quest series, so maybe that does, create the license for a little bit more difficulty in there, right?
But also, because with combat, you don't really have that look it up on the wiki thing, like Avernick said. But with things like necromancy, there kind of is an easy mode for combat. Like there's a level at which that's no longer
sustainable
true,
defensive mode.
Yeah, like if you're having trouble, go and get your necromancy tank armor, get your darkness incantation, get your Phantom Guardian conjure, invoke death. You can make it work.
And I think that with that in mind, you're free to experiment a little bit more, both on the combat side and the puzzle side, dare I say it, based on how this one could be wikiable. So, but the whole point of doing these puzzles is that after the completion of each state, you unlock a Tumeken memory fragment. And this is the first big lore dump that we get from this quest. And we're going to start with Tumeken's origins, because that one came from Memory 1, and when you look at the other things that have been floating around in the quest, look at the Tumeken aura, I'll just say, in terms of how it's presented as a chat box, you can see, where the design influence of those sorts of things come in, specifically from Jazz as the player's guest. And that was confirmed in the live stream this week.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel relatively happy that when Ode of the Devourer came out and they were really expanding upon what happened during the Zaros and Empire and Caridian Empire War, that it felt like that was the basis of something. I think this is where we're finally paying off of that. I think it had been so not touched on in most of the rest of the Desert series. I think the biggest place it was touched on was in Majrat Memories, which is something entirely different. So the fact that Ode was bringing it feels good. Like they're bringing in that history.
Wasn't there also a Tumeken lore entry posted to the website at one point? I'm forgetting the name of it, where we got most of the Tumeken lore from.
Well, Tumeken's Dream.
Yeah.
Which that's now a book in the Manifest library, I think.
Okay. So
and that one's a little bit more about the aspects. How much was it? It might have been roughly referenced, the war is happening, so I'm doing this.
Yeah, it was principally about the origin of the aspects.
So the most interesting thing, well, maybe this is interesting, maybe it's not, but one of the interesting things that came from this is just the way the memory of Tumeken was talking in this first memory. 1, family is an alien concept. 2, sowing the seeds. 3, procreation is not possible for us, but Elidnus has proposed an alternate path. Fragments of light. Bodies of ascended creatures. Was anybody else getting the Elder God vibes at this point before Zaros was mentioned?
I think that it was the word cousin that tipped it for me, but now that you're saying it, it is presented more like an Elder God had said it during the Elder God series.
It's that very alien mindset. It is very reminiscent of the memory crystals for Zaros and Saren on Freniske.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's that we're meeting a mortal Elidnus isn't immortal, but meeting a mortal for the first time, and what is this strange creature? I have so much to learn from it.
And specifically mentioned, like you said, the term, they would be a valuable ally against my cousin and his forces. And previously in that section, Tumeken was talking about the Majorad and how the entire conclusion of that arc is effectively what created the desert aspect of the Caridian desert. And I was thinking, okay, this is being heavily implied that Tumeken is Zaros' cousin, but again, this was another thing that was confirmed in the live stream this week, and
they're not being coy about it.
No, it's more of a lore drop than something that's, let's actually go back and start pulling on the Zarosian threads, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be this is the start of something that was done pretty well. I think I'll have this feedback about a lot of the quests. There's a really good balance here between saying things that are important that I think some of the community is clamoring for, like Elder God stuff, and
back to that cosmic level storytelling sort of thing.
It's a good balance between saying things about that without detracting from the story, because you're being a little coy about it, not prohibitively, like you can't figure this out. Like this is a mystery for a different time. It's not that. This is you can see what this is, and we're gonna tell you what it is in this quest. But that's not what the quest is about. We're not having characters talk about it and bring attention to it. It's not a plot point.
Exactly. And, it's specifically mentioned, too, in the line where he mentions the Empty Lord, he will never learn our secret. And that secret, of course, being Tumeken's, of course, connection to him. And, this, I think, spurred up a discussion at some point that I said, well, what does this mean for the edicts that, we established there at the end of Aftermath, or Twilight of the Gods, rather? And, could Zaros get through there? Could Tumeken, get through there if he was, to be reconstituted as such? And the answer to that at this point is maybe.
Well, we'll touch on that, I think, a little bit later on.
I think we'll touch on it later, but you're actually bringing to mind that this quest saying what it does about Tumeken later on does have good implications for Sarah and Zaros, right? Like what that means. Because I think we'll get to it, but generally Tumeken says, like, yeah, if I was stronger, more my real form, the edicts would have an effect on me, which does say something about Zaros and Sarah at this point.
Yeah. And it opens some doors.
It opens the doors to having more Zaros and Saren lore without actually needing the characters. Is basically the way you're going.
It's
with
like
that,
the Demonheim archaeology site. It's like giving us a little bit of an insight into where they want the edicts to be falling on, like who it affects and who it doesn't.
And that's getting back to how you would have done that sort of storytelling without actually bringing those characters on board.
Yep.
So that's probably hallmarked as a success there on that point for that. And I don't think we knew any of this before going in. Maybe some people might have theorized this. Avernick, you ever heard anybody theorize that Tumeken was related to Zaros and company?
The biggest theory was that he was another child of Ma.
Right.
I think that was the only way that it was going. I think that the going with Jazz was not even on the table in most people's minds.
Yeah, so that's almost an order higher.
I think a big question here is why. And I don't think this quest answers why. I think we can have some theories about why.
And I said,
I don't know why it matters.
And I said, we could do the Gielinorian Universe Genesis story and talk about, how Tumeken was formed at some point.
We could at some point. I don't know how much it matters to like character level.
No, it doesn't.
Stories,
but there's people who want to hear about
that. Could matter in right. It could be a world building or just a background lore thing because we're all fucking nerds about this thing.
Yeah, and maybe that's something that just comes off in a Q&A once, and there it is, and that's all there needs to be. So.
It's something that they can pull on for a future story, and it's important to have those.
And keep in mind that before the Sixth Age, before the Elder Gods came onto the scene, the first decade and a half of RuneScape spent time sowing these seeds about Zaros, about Saradomin, Zamorak, Saren, to the point that they were just sown in pieces of dialogue like we see in this quest. And then it wasn't until, we got into the depths of the Sixth Age that we started acting on those and realizing whether or not they were real. And the whole reason people started acting upon those is because they wanted to see that lore that was in the heads of people come to fruition. But I think we all just need to be cognizant of the fact of what happened last time. They went all in on that path.
There's a really good
It's
quote
good to sow
by,
mystery.
There's a really good quote by J.R.R. Tolkien talking about this, where he says, like, the appeal of stories like The Lord of the Rings is you can see glimpses of this really deep history in the background. It's not thrown in your face, but like you see all of this backstory stuff in the distance, far off, and that gives color to the world. It gives dimension to the world. Once you actually visit those places that you can see in the distance, it robs them of that power.
The mystique.
And then the only way to bring it back is you have even farther off things that you can see.
And so that's the path they went down.
Big or bad.
Yeah.
Which I think they still did that, right? We went from Elder Gods to Erebus stuff. Like, that's still the path we went down. It was still, there's a bigger something. But I think
there's a limit
really
to where you can
elongating that period between the two, whereas at the beginning of the 6th Age, it went, okay, the gods are back, and then immediately faded gods. Okay, and there's something bigger than the gods. And it escalated so quickly. I think if we really, we have the material to stretch it out.
Absolutely.
And we'll get to the other stuff later on in the quest that kind of says that that's what they want to do with that. But the other stuff that came from the memories was specifically some more Icthlarin lore, in particular the discussion around Icthlarin's shameful past and just how powerful both he and Amascut were, with terms of, quotes being thrown around like they callously flaunt their power and risk drawing the Ire Lord of the Empty Lord himself. Yeah,
this was interesting because we've known for a while that Icthlarin and Amascut did something to really annoy Tumeken, and that's why they're gods of the underworld. But we never really knew what they had done. And we still don't really, but this gives us a lot more clues.
There's little things like, he was at the front lines of this battle, and he was attracting the attention of the Zaros' forces.
He was a powerful necromancer to even rival yourself.
Yeah, I think it's implied later in the quest. Like, he swore off necromancy, it seems, for similar reasons. It seems like indirectly Tumeken blames Icthlarin doing all this stuff for why Tumeken had to explode. But yeah, I don't think this was I don't think it was ever directly attributed to Icthlarin. I think that largely we might have assumed that it was a combination of Icthlarin and Amascut, if not Amascut mostly, because Amascut's the one that's gone more sour since.
Well, I was just going to say, I did find it interesting that this dialogue, it talks a lot about what Icthlarin did. It doesn't talk very much about why Amascut deserves
Right, Amascut gets punished too for what it seems like was entirely Icthlarin's problem.
Right. And I don't think that was the intent. I think the intent was Amascut is also kind of like this. But
I don't know.
I'd be interested to see how she would do it differently.
As a child with of two, I have a sister, and I don't know, when one of us got in trouble, usually the other one felt it a little bit.
Well, okay, that's fair enough. I'm just going off of because Tumeken keeps using plural pronouns. Amascut and Icthlarin have pushed my patience. They callously flaunt.
I would say that the fact that Icthlarin did all of this reckless, bold stuff, which was generally attributed to drawing more ire from Zaros' empire, and then resulted in Tumeken blowing himself up, Linus leaving, and Amascut going sour. I feel like Icthlarin might feel very responsible for everything that's happened, and that's why he's such a good boy now.
And I was going to say, what if it was something that those two did that led to the Caridian becoming a desert?
The Caridian's a desert because Tumeken blew up.
Okay, so that was it. Wasn't.
He blew up because of something they did.
Yes, because Icthlarin feels like he forced the situation where Icthlarin did what he did.
And what if that something was related to the Majorant? Hence the memory of Tumeken saying that they might never know.
Icthlarin doing what he did caused the Zaros Empire
to become aware of what Tumeken is.
Pay a lot more
really
attention
blame
to the
on,
desert.
which I think the fact that they were in a war is probably why the Majorat swapped sides. Like they were lured over by this is either empty throne room lore or Santistan archaeology site lore. I think Slisky was the
Slisky.
one that switched first, right?
Yes.
And he brought most of the others over. Like there was at least Temekel that didn't switch, and there were a couple other
from the Zamorakian side to the Zarosian side. You mean
from the
Menifite side
to the Zarosian side?
Okay.
Earlier, so Slisky brought most of them to the Zarosian side, and I don't think he would have done that if they weren't in conflict with the Zarosian Empire, which it seems like Icthlarin spurned on.
Well, my recollection of that lore, and granted, it's coming from Sliske's perspective, and so it's kind of skewed, it's inherently biased, was that the Majorat felt restricted by the Menephites, and they thought Zaros would give them more leeway to
That's crazy.
be kind of not great.
Well, that's what Zaros was always about, right? Like doing what needed to be done, even if it might not have been the best thing to do. Whereas you might argue then that the Menephite side could have been more ethical in that regard for whatever ethics might be to Majorat.
Well, yeah, Zaros was a lot
the
more,
greater good.
What you do as long as it works.
Yes.
As long as it doesn't hurt, as long as it doesn't hinder me, do whatever you want.
Yes.
Whereas,
for the greater good.
But generally, it seems like that mass exodus of Majorat was the key contributing factor in Tumeken exploding himself.
Right, because the Majorat were brought in specifically
more
because they needed warriors.
Yep.
And so with most of their warriors switching sides, they're now at such a massive disadvantage.
And then the fear about Zaros learning the true nature of Tumeken, therefore his kids, who is trying to protect, worrying that will draw even more attention other than, okay, maybe we can just stop the war here. I explode myself. I say, oh, we lost. We exploded.
And then bind Amascut and Icthlarin to the underworld to prevent them from doing whatever they did that caused the problem initially.
Yes. I think it's very interesting that those roles came largely from Elidnus, because it seems like Tumeken had, by his very nature of being a spawn or a child of an elder god, would have more to do with the machinations of life, death, the world. But it's really Elidnus that seems to have the attunement to how the underworld's working and yada yada yada. And in these memories, Tumeken says Elidnus suggested that they take over some of her responsibilities with the rebirth, the destruction, the ferrying of souls.
Let's also bear in mind that Harold, the psychopomp, was put in position by Guthix.
Yeah, and none of that is never mentioned here. So it's extra interesting that Elidnus got so in tune with all of this in depth that it's get mentioned. Granted, maybe they're saving that for down the line because clearly they've saved a lot of this Elidnus stuff for down the line.
And to be fair, another thing they mentioned in terms of the makeup of that family is that, yes, Tumeken is a creation of Jazz. Elidnus was human.
Yep. Elidnus was human, which
not an elder god spawn. Yes.
And the fact that Tumeken made the decision to effectively marry her and have children with her.
Yeah.
That says an entirely different thing compared to the what were the problem children of Zaros and Saren, effectively.
The aggressively toxic codependent.
Yes.
So,
like I said, Tumeken is very much the most well-adjusted of that whole family, which is not a high bar, but
I was going to say, because he's
leaps and bounds.
Yeah, and he's still got that, that narcissism. One of his complaints was that Icthlarin had a statue larger than his own. That, you know?
His statue's bigger than mine, yeah.
And I mean, if you just read the dialogue top to bottom on that, you think that might be why Tumeken chose to bind Icthlarin and Amascut, but then that doesn't really explain the Amascut side. It might explain Icthlarin, but you dive deeper into it and you realize that there was definitely something going on there with the Metaphite Majorat stuff. So just to recap this before we move on to the last bit that came from the memories here on this and the Majorat stuff, effectively, do you think we could say that Icthlarin primarily, but also Amascut, did something that caused a problem with the Majorat? That Tumeken, the dad, had to go in and clean up, but didn't want it getting out there known that they're from the same sort of family origin as Zaros was. So that's the point that he blew himself up. And then we have that, I think, is the logical thing that we take from everything we learned in this quest about Tumeken.
Yep.
Everybody good with that, I think?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay, good.
Nailed it.
And then after that, we get into what we could call maybe a bit of a deeper discussion about Tumeken having regrets in this, and the discussion that comes into place about darkness and light, and the fact that, you know, Zaros doesn't know about any of this. He doesn't know about Tumeken's secret. He doesn't know about the family arrangement there. And I think the biggest thing to hone in on in this is that we've already talked about the Zarosian connection there, but the fact that Tumeken's showing a bit of regret here on this, I think, was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to get his perspective on this, because we got Icthlarin's in Ode of the Devourer, and we kind of like implicitly got Amascut's there as well, where like they both took it very hard, but in very different ways. Amascut took it very much as like, why am I being punished? This is so unfair. Icthlarin took it as a like he kind of well, he took it as a teachable moment, but the way he talks about it in kind of like almost a Stockholm Syndrome kind of way, where it's like, yeah, Daddy beat me, but he loves me really deep down. Like he's clearly, it clearly hurts him very deeply inside, and he's trying not to let that show. But it's interesting to see Tumeken's perspective and to see like what he thinks about this whole situation.
Yeah, I think they're doing pretty good at making Tumeken out to be, I think I said this during the stream, he's flawed, but he's not like inherently like bad.
Right, he's not an asshole, he's just flawed.
So he has made mistakes, but he has the ability to regret them.
Yeah.
Not say like, oh no, I did the best in the moment.
And I think the more interesting thing about that is, where did he pick up that ability? Was it from
maybe Elidness?
Yeah.
I think that's my best guess.
I think that's what they're going for, especially with the way in the live stream they emphasized how different it is. Well, actually, sorry, let me back up. I think it's two things. So they emphasized in the live stream how interesting it is that of all of the three elder spawnlings, Tumeken is the only one who fell in love. And so to me, I see two aspects from this. One aspect is there's the whole theme of love redeems, which is a prevalent theme in Western storytelling. And so the idea that, yeah, he interacted with Elidnis, who is fundamentally immortal, on her own level, saw her as his equal, learned from her, and learned a lot from her. But I think the other side of it is Tumeken's relationship with his quote-unquote mother would have been very different than Saren and Zaros's. Because Saren and Zaros, they have this incredibly codependent relationship where they both love and hate each other because they were created by Ma, who was so desperately afraid of being alone that she bound them to each other and implicitly to her. Whereas Jazz isn't like that. Like, we don't really know what Jazz would have been like as a quote-unquote parent. She seems very kind of aloof and very like laissez-faire, but she's not that desperately cloying, love me, love me, love me, like Ma is.
Because she had the sisters.
Well,
she had
yeah,
Wen and Full and Bick.
We also don't know that she even knew Tumeken existed as her offspring.
Absolutely.
Right, and that gets into the whole
one of consciously
of that Gielinor universe Day Zero Genesis story.
But I think also one of the most telling things is in that first memory where you can see the difference, where he was talking about the Amascut and Icthlarin, where he says humility is a virtue they're sorely lacking. Now, humility is not something you would expect from a child of an elder god. That's something he has learnt from Elidnus, and that is something he wants to see in his kids. And I think that's that's very telling in his growth, in his character.
Absolutely.
And I think if you bring it back to the basics and everything that we've had working this story up, if I was to put myself in the minds of the people who wrote this stuff, and they can say whether this is right or wrong, but I think that everything that Tumeken became that's different than what we have seen elder god family relation-wise up to this point, I think just comes down to that Elidnus connection. I think that's really all it is, probably.
He's grown and learnt so much through her.
I don't disagree, but I also don't want to discount the quote-unquote parental influence. Like, even if Chaz didn't know about Tumeken, even if she didn't influence him,
she didn't mess him up.
Right, exactly. The best you can say, or the worst you can say about her, is that she gave him a clean slate.
Yep.
Which is already leaps and bounds above what Saren and Zaros got.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and also consider the ability to not be bound to Frenesque, too.
Yeah. He got to grow up in the Garden of Eden.
Growing up in a mansion, growing up on the streets.
Yeah, he grew up in paradise, not in hell.
Literal
hell.
And I mean, let's just take a step back and consider what we've done here for the last 30-odd minutes. There's nothing wrong with approaching the Elder Gods and this kind of storyline in RuneScape in the way that was done in this quest.
No?
Yeah, everything that we said about an Elder God was because we put 1 or 2 points together based on a visual or a single noun, right? Like,
and it is appreciated that they did confirm that this week.
Yeah, and I think that's what comes with a finale quest, is that we get clear answers. But that they're not planning on teasing this out and it being an answer to a mystery somewhere later down the line. So that's nice to help our discussion. But I think also in that vein, they made it painfully obvious in a lot of the visuals.
Yeah, they were not subtle about it.
It's not subtle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which also helps conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just also wanted to say, I put in the notes darkness versus light, and when I was building those notes, it was largely based on, what was in the Three Memories discussion. But talking about it now, when you look at, how Zaros, Saren, and Ma all came up on Frenesque versus what we have with Tumeken here being the literal sun, you can see the absolute difference in that and in terms of what that leads to. And I think that is a nice summary of this section of the story, whether or not you apply it to, what might have happened with Icthlarin and the need for them to be bound to the underworld, or if it's just something that explains about how Tumeken wound up being so different from the others.
Yeah.
So All right. With that, we move on. This all happened throughout the course of those puzzles. This all happened throughout the course of those
Fill in the
puzzles. You
roughly the first half of Act 2, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. At this point, Scabrous overloads the piece of Tumeken. I think this was your addition, Avernick. So where do you want to go on this?
Yeah, I think, well, before we went into Tumeken's memories, a lot of it was like, trust me, the Scabrous is saying, trust me, right? Like, go get the favors from my siblings, trust me. Go in this memory palace thing, trust me. And this is where he does something where he's still saying, like, yeah, just take this, and I know you don't think it's right to hand it to Amascut, just do it. But before he tells you to do that and gives you the piece of Tumeken you just recovered, he throws all of his little Scabarite, scarabs, whatever.
Arab buddies.
Pieces it.
Time to go home now.
Melancholy gives you the little look, which was...
I thought that was great.
That's
best one.
Little buddy.
And he explains briefly, is like, these have been collecting memories for a long time. They're going to help by being a part of this. And I think this was just a really... It might not have meant much in the moment, other than like, okay, he's doing this.
You're right.
But this was pretty key to, I think, the plot really coming together in a satisfying way with how it pays off later on.
Mainly because those Scabarites then contribute to the to the complete memory at the end.
Right, because this is making that piece of Tumeken more
stronger.
Because he sent them out to gather memories throughout the entirety of the desert, and now they're coming back.
Which seems to be a key piece in giving the memory more power, making it something that Amascut won't expect.
Okay, that's interesting, and I guess that does come down to how we interact with Amascut at the end of the quest too, and we'll get there on that.
I found it very reminiscent of Plague's End and reforming Saren.
Right.
And the whole question about do you or do you not include these different pieces of Saren? How will it change Saren if we have these different pieces? I found it very reminiscent of that.
That's a good parallel draw. The Light Within, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did that quest this week, and I don't think that was in there.
Whatever.
But yeah, no, I think that like a lot of the things that we're seeing with the recovering the memory, even with stuff from earlier in the Desert series, where there's different pieces like the heart and the shadow, the name, yada yada yada. It's very reminiscent, for how more so how Saren worked. I think, especially in the Light Within, where there's a lot of different pieces like Halonid, Elunid, the Dark Lord. All those different pieces, Tumeken's coming together more like that, which is a great thing to draw parallels to with them being of elder gods.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that kind of begs the question, will we need this again in the future at some point?
Potentially. I really, future of this quest, yes, absolutely, because it seems like all of Tumeken's spawn also have this ability to split, like Scabrous has the ability to split. We're going to see Icthlarin also has that, but we'll get to that.
Wonderful. And then, of course, comes the point of the quest that everybody was jumping up and down for. You get back to Menaphos, and there's this entire discussion that happens, and Xau-Tak is mentioned. Also,
do you really think you can save them?
Oh boy,
that was a surprise.
I wasn't surprised.
Really,
you weren't surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised after the direction that we went with the presumed, high-level Elder God spawning path. So
I was surprised by how direct they were with it.
Yes,
right.
This is the most
mentioning the 6 characters in particular.
This is a level of directness that was previously reserved only for Extinction.
Yeah,
which then makes sense. Like, these are finales. Like, this is when you give
big answers.
big answers, yes.
And they did a lot of explaining here, too, in terms of when your character asked questions. You know, one of the answers was that Xau-Tak holds domain over the realm of Erebus, so your character's like, oh, so he has access to Erebus, and the answer is no, Xau-Tak is Shadow. It's miasma, in a sense, Erebus itself.
Xau-Tak is Erebus. I like that. That was always one of the things that I wanted for Xau-Tak, is that it's not so much that Xau-Tak is an entity that we can negotiate with on some kind of level playing field. Xau-Tak is.
Yes.
It's that very Lovecraftian, it is so far beyond our comprehension, there is not even anything we can latch onto.
It's interesting, too, because they say this, that it's Erebus itself, it's miasma. Icthlarin also, at a different point, says very directly, Xau-Tak is a Titan. Like not like a Titan of the Titans, is a Titan.
Yep.
Which is a term we had previously gotten in Extinction from an item called Relic of the Titans, which you get midway through the Erebus puzzle that just lets you teleport further down the puzzle.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily think much of it at the time.
Much of it. Like Relic of the Titans, okay, so Xau-Tak is a Titan. But what we know of Erebus and Erebus stuff, there is another entity called Voss, which is mostly referred to in the Centistan dig site.
Yep.
Which I would also probably say is a Titan if we're saying that big, Erebus entities are X. I'd say Voss is probably up there. So if Xau-Tak is Erebus but also a Titan, Voss is is what I'm assuming is a Titan. Is Voss also a thing that is also as vague as Erebus, or is it a lesser Titan? Are there no rules here because it's chaos and alien stuff? I don't know.
Next quest, Flash to the Titans.
I mean, if we're going to put them all on that same tier, that would make sense because, you know, a lot of people thought that Voss was, you know, another elder god, but if we're putting it on the exact same level as Xau-Tak being Erebus, you have to assume that it's almost like a way, like, you know, when we think of the states of matter, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the way that I was thinking of it in my head, something like that, right? Because if Xau-Tak is Erebus, you could, you know, kind of say, well, that's some sort of state of something that could be a Titan, and, you know, you put Voss in that same category. That's another one of those, and, you know, this was also something they said in the live stream, that this connection to the Titans was something that was developed for Requiem of a Dragon, or in Requiem of a Dragon, and they were going to go that way before going back to the desert.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, you can sort of see where they would have taken this after the conclusion of Requiem for a Dragon, with the whole mysterious relic and Bilrock being all partial effecty. And it's neat to sort of now tie this back into the desert, and as they pivoted to the desert, it sort of gives us an idea of where that story may be going at some point.
Yeah. Bilrock was Zamarakian faction, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so.
Okay.
He was
right-hand man.
He was the trying to find Zamarakian.
So, and
which is why we got Demonheim.
Yes, that's why we got Demonheim.
And when we look at all of this here in that way, that could have very well been the next storyline after the fort. Going back to sowing that sort of mystery like that, based on what Moya and Bilrock had got up to there, and what kind of cracks they might have opened up with regards in Erebus and whatnot.
Yeah,
maybe not the next, but you can definitely see what elements they would have brought in.
I'm curious, how direct or indirect they would have gone with it. I think with Requiem for a Dragon and what you could maybe assume would happen after, I think they were going very direct. Like, if you start that storyline with, like, Bilrock and that strange relic, you assume you're just going to go further and further on that path. I think that by pivoting to the Desert series, they gave themselves more room to be more indirect.
Sure.
I think that if you continue
indirect and grounded, I'll say.
Yeah, and grounded. Like now we're getting this side information during a finale for a different thing. I know we have a lot to say about all this stuff. I don't want to overshadow this is the Desert finale.
I specifically wanted to mention this because I know there is a segment of the population out there that is very interested in Xau-Tak being the next big bad, just as, prior to whatever quest it was that Zaros came back. The name's escaping me of it right now. Before Zaros came back, it was those same sorts of players that wanted to go down that path. And my thing that I come away from Eclipse of the Heart with is that you can still still provide lore that is satisfying to those people and be mysterious enough to just sprinkle in a little few details here and there that this is your Xau-Tak reference, maybe for the half year or maybe even, for the year at some point, and then this just plants some seeds down the road that can advance another storyline a little bit further.
Yeah, I think that especially in the era we've been in where we close off storylines, we should be aware that we need future plot threads to not only pick up, but to intertwine in a satisfying way. I think we're all eager for that Ritual of the Majra, that Desert Treasure 2, if you're talking about old school, like something that is a coalescence of a lot of different teasings and things that might seem disparate a little bit. The groundwork has to happen at some point. I think that by this being a finale, it's a good spot to do a lot more explicit groundwork because you're at that high level band, you're at that all that. But that needs to be happening across all the storylines we're doing before and after. Like in Haven Heights, I'd hope to see some more similar stuff where we're
and it doesn't necessarily mean that those storylines need to pick up right after this. It could very well be its own storyline, and then it merges together with that. Because one of the things you mentioned, Avernick, Desert Treasure 2 on old school, that has aspects of Gothic Sleeps for the Dragonkin, their Dragon Slayer 2 Grandmaster quest, and of course the Majorat stuff. So those are all kind of tied together, and those have already had big finales in their own way that you can still kind of, pull in on those going forward into the future. And I think a lot of people would like for that kind of grand storytelling to happen. The thing is that, it's just a question of, do you want to commit to wait 10 years for that?
You have to keep the attention in the meantime, right?
Yeah,
you have to be telling stories that people care about among laying the groundwork.
Yeah, precisely. So Xau-Tak was mentioned, of course, in the big way, and I think we got most of what needed to be mentioned about Xau-Tak out of the way right now. But if you guys want to hear more about that, we are open to doing lore diggers and monthly bits and talking about any further of these kind of things further. That's the kind of lore stuff we like doing. So if you want to hear that, let us know.
Heck yeah.
But the Soul Beacon, that's also another thing that has Xau-Tak references, ties to Erebus and whatnot, because you find this thing on Ungale, which is cold up there, right? But
just like the desert.
Absolutely the other way around. Absolutely the other way around.
This was the most surprising part of the quest to me. Quest that...
hang on, I just want to finish the description of the Soul Beacon and say that they go out of the way to mention that it's purple speckled with black. It's got a sharp chill to it, and you can sense corruption. Carry on.
Sorry, I'm backing up a quick second. I was surprised this quest at all mentioned the Soul Beacon. In a quest that has already surprised me at this point, I think at the beginning I was like, okay, this is what I expect. We're going to soften him. We're talking to the demigods, and then it was like, oh, okay, we're getting a little deeper in Tumeken stuff. Maybe this is getting close to the end. Oh, maybe it's not. Now we're at fully like, oh, we're going full back to Requiem for a Dragon and
because we left that thing just sitting there on Ungale.
Ode for the Devourer was a not perfect transition. I think it did really well for what it had to do at the moment, but it did really feel like we were taking one storyline, putting it down, saying, yeah, different time, and pulling up the desert one in our search history or whatever. This part of this quest made everything that happened in certain parts of Ode of the Devourer, Requiem for a Dragon, and then therefore all of the fort stuff that led up to Requiem for a Dragon, which I thought was very cohesive. It made it feel very pertinent to this quest. It gave it a good level of, okay, here's the payoff for you did all that stuff with Vorkath, that you helped him save his soul by the skin of your teeth, all that stuff. It felt like closure to me, which I was very happy about, and I didn't expect going into Eclipse of the Heart. But also in a way that I don't think it closes off. Like this is the teasy part of the quest where it's like, oh, these are the things that we can do in other stories later. Not going to resolve in this story. And in a way that is balanced enough that I don't think you have to require this quest in the future. I think we get some interesting side information that the Soul Beacon had a little corruption left over. What does that mean for what Bilrock did back in Ode of the Devourer and Requiem for a Dragon? I think you can harken back to those quests and requirements for future things here. This was really well handled at being super interesting and about the Xau-Tak Erebus stuff, about the Bilrock Moyas stuff, while being relevant to this quest and not being absolutely required info going forward.
Yeah, like I think functionally it really just reminded you that this happened.
That's a good way of putting it too, in way less words than I said.
I completely forgot about the Soul Beacon until this quest. I was like, wait, what is the Soul Beacon? And I went to the Ungale Ritual site, and it's like, you got to go get the Soul Beacon. I was like, okay, where is the Soul Beacon? I had to go to the wiki to
you
find
forgot
out
that
where
it's just right there.
Was. Yeah.
They didn't add it for this quest. It's been there since that.
Right, it's been there since Requiem for a Dragon.
And,
I just don't think about it.
That's interesting, too, is that if you look at the rituals that you perform on it, your ritual that you do on Ungale is to cleanse it, and the one that you perform at after it's cleansed is the Severance ritual.
Right, it's the actual...
We didn't get much explanation beyond that for what this thing was for.
Not so much.
Not in this quest.
First of all, love that Vorkath and Icthlarin are doing their little defending the ritual thing during that.
Yeah, and we'll mention this here now briefly. This brought Vorkath's story full circle.
Full circle, yeah, and love that. Love that.
Yeah. Did anyone else try and attack them first, though, when they saw them pop up and go, why can't I click on it? And then realise, no, it's only them.
And then your bros helped out.
I'd love if Vorkath took care of all my ritual disturbance.
That'd be amazing.
I don't think it was like 100% covered, but I think once Icthlarin teleports us to Menaphos and we see that the animation that was happening on the Ox in is also now happening to the Ox in Menaphos during the siege.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
They're all being like the connections being severed. We are effectively destroying Amascut's army in her siege of Menaphos. So that is just her versus us. It's not all of the Soul Devourers against all the people.
Okay.
Right. I missed that animation, but I picked that up in dialogue because, like, in Requiem for a Dragon, the whole thing there is Zamorgal has enslaved Vorkath by tying him to this Erebus energy, and we have to use the Soul Beacon to sever the connection to Erebus so Vorkath can be free. And so the whole thing in this quest is Amascut has basically done the same thing, but on a much larger scale. All of her Soul Devourers are human souls that she has tied to Erebus. She's devoured their souls and she's tied their bodies to Erebus, filled them with Erebus energy, and then we need to sever those connections so her army goes away.
By doing this ritual, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a big part of saving the day, like us coming in and helping all the people that were fighting, which we had previously assigned.
Yep. That was another fun little puzzle. I don't know that it's worth going into much detail on. But...
Yeah, we did skip over a little bit. I got it right in one, so I guess it was technically a puzzle, but like not the.
It's a logic puzzle.
It engaged the brain.
Yeah,
it's
I didn't give much thought.
Smaller scale one.
I didn't give that much thought to having that there either. So, what do we think the future of the Soul Beacon is?
I think that anything that was directly in this quest, purely because this is the end of a 50-plus quest storyline and has huge requirements, yada yada, is probably put to bed. Like, I think that the Soul Beacon's probably, like, it's more indicative of things that happened back in Requiem for a Dragon. I think they'd use Requiem for a Dragon more as the jumping off point.
Right, I would agree.
All the baggage of the Desert series. But this gives us a teaser as to what that stuff in Requiem for a Dragon.
Right. I do foresee the Soul Beacon being somewhat important, if for no other reason than, like, I think now we have a much better idea of what's going on with Bilrock.
Yeah.
Because I remember talking about that in the Requiem episode, and we're like, what's going on with Bilrock?
So effectively, the thing then that we'd like to say on that is that Bilrock was probably trying to ensoul some things to his control, maybe? Question mark?
I think Bilrock is a soul devourer. Basically.
I think that is. I think yes, and I think that's very indicative. I think there's a couple reasons for that. Like, A, we have Ode of the Devourer, which is when we start talking with Zemregal about what maybe Bilrock is, and we're comparing it to what Amascut's done for Soul Devourers. And B, we have in succession more.
Oh, right, because that was at the start of Ode, wasn't it? That discussion with Zemregal in the dungeon.
We're talking to Zemregal a little bit at the Majorat ritual site, I believe, about the experiments that Moya's done on Forgotten Warriors.
Right.
And then also in succession, we have a whole section in Menaphos where Moya sent Jared and Vengeance and Akra to go research what the soul magic that Orb has done, go look up books about soul devouring in the Menaphos library. I think there's a lot there to say that whatever Moya did to Bilrock is extremely similar to what Amascut did to make Soul Devourers. Yep. I mean, it's probably with a twist, right? Maybe
sure.
maybe she's
that's a good theory.
A little more off the deep end.
Well, especially since Majorat don't have souls.
Yes, especially because how do you Soul Devour something without soul? So like there has to be like an edge to it. Generally, I think, Moya is, and that was a big theme for Moya during the Legacy of Zamorak series, is that she's not just doing, she recognized that Bilrock was doing Zamorakian greatest hits with his, with his evil schemes, and she is, I will see what we've done in the past and add the modern twist to it.
Right, Moya's trying to innovate. She's trying to do something new.
She's trying to do the next step on, and maybe she did that with Bilrock. Bilrock's plan when she killed him in succession.
The boom.
And the boom. And then in what she did with Bilrock after, and what we saw in Ode of the Devourer, she's trying to do what Amascut did, but with her twist. And maybe that's how she keeps going forward. She takes old plans and tries to one-up them.
Which would be consistent of the character. If you go back to that point, even Extinction, where she tried to kill you.
Yep.
Okay. And, I when you put it in that way, I don't necessarily know that those two, Moya and Bilrock, carrying that out would have been that compelling of a storyline. I think probably from Amascut's perspective here, this is maybe more compelling. And
I mean, any story can be made interesting.
It depends. Like, I think that when Ode of the Devourer was not supposed to be the Desert Pivot, it was just supposed to be a Moya Bilrock quest, which it seems like that was what it like, at least at the very beginning, started as, before Zara was asked to pivot to Desert fully for the next 3
because that is how that went, didn't it?
there were ways you could flavor that. Like, you could have done, like, each quest was a twist. Like, the Devour is one where you say, like, this is the Soul Devour plus, and then you could have done something that was like, these are vampires plus for doing blood magic over here, something like that. Maybe that's still how they're going to do it, and like really drag it out. Like, this is blood magic plus, but on Vampirium, and like 6 quests.
That might make sense if that is indeed what Havenheim amounts to, isn't it?
It could have been, but they could have fast tracked it, I guess, in that Bill Rock Moya stuff. And I think I'd prefer that they're doing it longer. I think this is making more sense where we're doing it in either stories we know or grounded news stories.
Yes,
like low stake stories.
I was just gonna say that because of everything that came off of Succession and whatnot following that with Bill Rock and Moya. I feel like there was just a bit of a bad taste for some people who were involved in that doing it this way in the desert or maybe something new in Havenheim is gonna result in a better outcome.
Yeah, it also helps you theme it better. Like, these are strong themes you can like the desert's is a big theme thing, and like I think that you could get very bored very quickly if we just kept doing like it's Erebus stuff, but vaguely something else. Like, this is like strongly desert stuff with vaguely Erebus stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
And that's a good way to bring the Soul Beacon to a conclusion then, I think.
Yeah.
All right. The next part of the quest involves getting ready to confront the final boss fight, and there was a walk through Menaphos while the city was under siege. I didn't think too much of this. What did you guys think of that?
Yeah, I didn't think too much of it either. I remember having kind of mixed feelings about it because on the one hand, I feel like I would have liked to have had some combat here so that I'm actually doing something. But on the other hand, there is something very thematic about having that walk through and seeing all of the allies doing it and having that. Because like two of my favorite moments in non-RuneScape media are the scene in Avengers Endgame where all of the people come out of the portals, the assembled army of all the allies, and the scene at the end of Mass Effect 3 where all of your assembled allied armies pour out through the space gate to prepare to attack Earth. And like that, getting that acknowledgement of we've spent all of these quests, interacting with all these characters, building all these relationships. Here's the payoff. Now they're all coming to pay you back. I appreciate that.
Right. Not to mention that the ritual you just did to sever the connection is also helping to defeat the Ox. Like, that is...
Right. Yeah, because I missed that on my playthrough, but yes, you're absolutely right.
It's all that, together.
Yeah, and you see the blobs of energy coming down. I didn't make that connection either that's what was happening, but good catch on that.
I actually now that you say it, I did see that, but I assumed that was Icthlarin helping.
Smiting.
Yeah, Icthlarin smiting, I assumed is what that was.
I mean, technically that ritual was a little routed through his lantern, so maybe he was pointing his lantern a little bit, and that was just, I don't know.
Maybe. But yeah, your explanation makes more sense, I think. It's more thematic.
Yeah.
Actions and all that.
Ooh.
Was anybody expecting the visit from Tumeken?
No. Short answer, no.
I was expecting... I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting to talk to Tumeken somehow. I don't know if I was expecting the full-on mindscape.
Yeah, because basically Amascut appears, and then Tumeken pauses that exact moment and extends it out indefinitely.
Well, yeah, so Amascut appears, she takes all of the parts of Tumeken, the Caradib, which she already had, the bit of Tumeken's light from Scabarus, and reassembles
as well.
Yeah, the bit from the Soul Altar, and reassembles him essentially. Which, speaking of callbacks, kind of a callback to reassembling the mummy Senlatan in Missing My Mummy.
Yeah. I think she even mentioned that the shadow and name parts were lost. These are all she could get.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of that whole ritual that we do for Senlatan. And then Tumeken, it goes better than she could have possibly expected.
Because of what Scabrous did with the light.
Yeah, because of Bug Bro.
Which is absolutely crazy.
He nucleared that shit.
when you think about it, because when you put all this together, I don't necessarily know that was her thought. Maybe it was, become more powerful, but then bam, Tumeken just appears.
Largely, yeah, she thought she could consume whatever popped up, which she couldn't. And largely, she was trying to replace what she had given up to Ma, which I think she's largely regretted.
Right, because that was the big... Yeah, she has been feeling that loss, and that's part of what sort of drove her to become the Devourer.
Right, that no one was worthy of rebirth, so... Because the Mazhrot betrayed. Even though after she had given her... divine,
right, after she sacrificed all that
to for them,
it didn't matter.
So what, out of the discussions that we have with Tumeken here, this is pretty much just for us, right? Primarily.
And didn't that piss Amascut off
at the end?
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
and it's very reminiscent of
back to bite us.
Fate of the Gods and Extinction stuff, where like Zaros and Saren were able to do something similar.
To pull themselves out of time. And in many ways, that's the final, kind of confirmation that is what Tumeken is, had they not mentioned that.
Well, to be honest, I thought the final confirmation was the visual design of Tumeken himself. Like, I remember I pointed this out to people.
Son of Jazz.
Exactly. Well, he looks like the Son of Jazz, but he also looks like a Saren spirit.
That's yes.
And they have that in the concept art.
Yeah, and I remember I pulled that out, and I think I pinged you with it. It was like, confirmation! I'm not crazy! Well, it's not
you picked up on the visual thing they were trying to get across.
Yeah, I picked up on the incredibly obvious visual thing they tried to come across. Pat on the back.
Hey, media literacy is a skill.
It really is in this day and age,
It's a rare skill.
It really is. But... you do have the option to ask, further questions, and there weren't really that many that you could ask here, I think. Were you?
No.
Is anybody hoping for more?
I mean, the first time we've had the opportunity. It's the first time we've had the direct opportunity to talk to Tumeken, who is one of the most mysterious of the gods that are left. So yeah, I would have loved to have been able to sit down and have a real heart-to-heart.
What's your hand, Armwell? Yeah.
He even takes the time to talk specifically with Icthlarin here, too, which is the time to make amends, it seems.
Yeah, it really ties into...
Which is a choice.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the choice?
That he only spoke to Icthlarin of his two children.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, the whole forgiveness thing, it ties into what we were saying earlier about, like, Tumeken's memories and how he feels those regrets for those decisions that he's made in the past. And this is kind of the payoff to that. And then, yeah, like, the decision to not talk to Amascut is interesting. And they talked about that in the live stream.
But he also said, he doesn't think she'll listen to him, so he doesn't want to... It's like, she's a woman. I'm not going to make her angrier by trying to explain things.
That's one there.
I was married for 27 years. I'm allowed to say that.
there is both a level of, I think this is reflecting the themes that they're trying to get across of actually words. Tumeken recognizes that words aren't enough. I also think that's a crutch of his. I think that his biggest flaw, it seems revealed through this quest in the history of the world, is that he's really bad at communicating with his daughter, which I don't think is an uncommon trait for dads. Like, it's a trope for a reason. And I think he just reinforces it here. Like, he's trying his best, but he's probably not picking the best path here, even though he thinks it's the right way. But it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
The thing I found really interesting was, like, in the live stream, I don't remember who it was, but one of the mods on the stream made the point that, like, that interaction happened because they wanted to make the point that like it ties into the action speak louder to words theme. Amascut could not be talked down. No one could talk Amascut down. Something had to happen so that she would realize for herself, and that ties into what will happen later after the boss fight. But I found it interesting that like the immediate aftermath of when the moment ends and we can talk to Amascut again, she comes so close to being talked out of it. And like,
especially because the action is that she got the power that she was looking for.
Right. So that makes you wonder how that could have gone differently if Tumeken had just
talk to her,
given to her, talk to her. Yeah. I think it's both the theme of the quest and not in that it's the right answer, but it's the answer that I think Tumeken landed on.
Yeah, I think it was the inevitable answer,
and it's the answer that gives the best narrative experience.
It's the answer, and it's the answer that Tumeken thought was right, and ultimately Amascut thinks is right because it's the one that comes through to her.
Right,
and in that way, she's a lot like her father. That she thinks that's the right way to communicate.
Right.
And
in certain aspects it is.
Yeah, and you can say with that's necessarily how Amascut ended up in this situation to begin with. Had there just been those lines of communications, maybe that would have been the thing. Sure, yeah. But as we know, Tumeken really hasn't spoke to much of anybody on the corporeal Gielinor world that we've been around or that we've witnessed ever.
He's had maybe like 2 lines of dialogue with Amascut at the end of Fight Club, and then there's this. That's it.
Even basically. That was the part of him, like how right. Sentient and with it was it.
Right.
Yeah, I remember we got in. You guys weren't here for that, but I remember when Fight Club happened, the people we had on the show at the time really got into that because we really hadn't heard much from the Tumeken in particular on that. So yeah. I'm actually going to send this episode to the person who did lore with us back then. So because of that. So we good to move on to the boss fight then?
Yes, which they have conveniently come up with a good reason for why we can go toe to toe with a god.
Yes,
being given Tumeken power, which they had to do because World Guardian no more.
Yeah, they took the World Guardian powers away.
Glad they specifically referenced the edicts too. Like they're like I think we mentioned a little earlier in the episode. They're setting little power levels. Like okay, Tumeken in this form was able to withstand it for a little bit. If he was more like in his Zaros or Saren equivalent form, probably would have been kicked out. So it gives us some answers.
Oh, right. That was the thing that we said we were going to come back to because he makes the point that like if he were whole, he could probably overcome the edicts.
Oh, right. Which
like in his current level.
So was what we saw then a vision?
No, yes. What we saw was Tumeken, but it was a shard of him.
Okay.
It was the right power level to get to be around for that amount of time.
He had just enough power that the edicts were about to kick him out, but he could extend that moment of time.
Right. Okay.
So he froze time so that he could talk to us. But he was about to get kicked out by the edicts, and that's probably what happened with whatever was... If there was anything left of him, it probably got kicked out by the edicts. But he makes the point that if he were complete, if all of his pieces were together... he could probably withstand the edicts.
Interesting.
Also very amusing, he calls Gothic the Green God, because they probably never had an interaction.
Yeah, they probably hadn't met.
No. And that raises, the other question. Could we, have a repeat of the arc that ends in Temple of Sentistan for people trying to put together Zaros? Could somebody down the line in a storyline try and put together Tumeken again? Or would they not go there?
I think the biggest indicator that they won't go there is that during the live stream they said, we gave you all this Tumeken stuff because when else would we have?
Right.
This was
There's no other opportunity.
I don't think there's an intention to bring him back. I think, and we might get into a little of this with Icthlarin in a hot second. They're not that interested in doing like infinite revivals. And resurrections
for good reason, but yeah,
like there's narrative poignancy to it. So I think this is probably what we're going to get for Tumeken, and maybe in the far distant future we'll get a little bit more here. But I wouldn't expect it.
I think the important thing is they don't intend to, but the door is open to.
And that's exactly what they said in that last mini ahead live stream when people asked about Zaros and whatnot. So
always keep it open if you don't have to close it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so that scratches that itch. We got the power from Tumeken to be the champion for a little while, and that carries us on to the boss fight. 800,000 life point fight. How did everybody find this?
Weirdly easy.
Yeah. Okay.
A little boring, the actual fight. Yep.
I think I had 20 sharks and I used under 10. I had many in my inventory at the end.
Yeah, I only use 5 or 6 myself.
And from that perspective, I want to say I found the fighting earlier in the quest more difficult than this.
Yeah.
More engaging.
Enemies
is that because how much of that is them doing stuns? How much of that is they caught you unprepared?
Yeah.
And then you realized, I got to take this seriously.
Maybe?
Yeah. For me, definitely, because as I said, I bought 3 sharks. I was expecting something like from the Menafos quest, where we were just running around, hit them 2 or 3 times, they died. So I thought, I've got to take the fights in this seriously.
And maybe it went into for me the full discussion of needing a PVM rotation for this. Is that I just started doing whatever I would do normally in PVM, and maybe that's why that was a little bit different for this. Anyways, go ahead, Sergio.
Let's also bear in mind that I don't remember when exactly it was, but there's shortly before this, I think it was before we went to get the Soul Beacon, there was a non-diegetic pop-up that basically said, hey, you're going to have a big combat thing in a while. Might want to get ready for that.
Yeah, that's when we speak to Icthlarin after cleansing or after severing that. He tells us, I can take you there, but you might want to prep yourself. So that's where you run back and just grab a full inventory of food.
So that's your warning. Hey, boss fight coming up. Prepare. Yeah. Go get your kit. Get your PE on.
Mm-hmm. And I took it seriously this time because, I died earlier. So I thought, I'm taking an overload and I'm taking food.
Yep. And I thought the combat was easy, probably largely because the damage wasn't high. I think
the damage was quest level.
Was good. The mechanic level was
question,
good. The damage was higher.
Yeah, go ahead.
I chased and broke down all the monoliths. Did we have to do that?
When they fully healed, they started doing high, a constant damage too.
Yeah.
Okay, so you sort of did, because I was running on because it was you could ignore most of her thing, just sit there, attack the monolith. And the thing I found annoying was the monoliths so far away from each other, although when they were the 4 all in the corners. It's you run into that and such. But
it was very reminiscent of Xau-Tak.
And that's what I was going to say next, is that the monoliths evoke that idea of Xau-Tak. The
Magister.
The jumping slam attack is similar to the way Carapac does that in terms of how you could protect from melee or move away from it. Then you have the glowing bit in the middle, which is similar to Gate of Validness too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she also has there's a bombardment attack, which you may not have seen in the first 3 phases. You probably did in phase 4, which is very reminiscent of Nakatra. And also the waves of corruption attack, which is also Nakatra.
Did anyone else? Yeah. I think halfway through the fight, your screen goes black and.
Yeah, that's that's the transition to phase 4.
Yeah, I thought, did I die? I'm sitting there going, hang on, what happened? And then we're back, bang, and she's got full life health, and I'm going, I didn't sort of understand that part. It's just like, whoa, hang on, what happened there?
Oh, that's the final phase, the enraged phase of the boss. And
I realized that after when I said, hang on a second, it threw me off because I thought, my screen's just gone black. Did I die? What's happened? It just took a little bit, but yeah.
I will say, I think one weakness, and I don't know how much of this is because the fight was too easy and how much of this was, like, it wasn't well set up in dialogue. I didn't really get the narrative of the fight until the live stream. Because, like, the whole conceit of the fight is that it's taking place in sort of like in Amascut's mind, where it's her vision of the future. This is the Golden Palace as she envisions it. And so, like, the fourth phase in particular, that takes place, if you look at the floor and the skybox, that is the shattered ruin of the Menethos throne room. You can see the mural on the floor and or the murals on the wall and the inscription on the floor. I find that's that a lot more clear in the live stream show, looking at the concept art.
I'll have to watch that because I don't. When I'm fighting, I look at the boss and what I have to hit. I'm not looking at everything around me. So I'm aware of the monoliths. Hit the monoliths. Hit her. Make sure I dodge her attacks and things like that. I'm sort of not looking at the surrounds. So okay,
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I think it's probably a weakness of you get thrown into it very quickly. Obviously, because like Amascut's like quickly enraging and like bringing you into it. I think that's a difficulty of telling that bit. I think it becomes more clear in a lot of the messaging around the post-quest boss fight. I think that when you're you access the boss through the Menethos Grand Pyramid doors, and it says something like
that and also if you take the portal at War's Retreat, it sends you there.
Yeah. It says, like, oh, this is the vision, I think it comes a little clear there. Also, it seems like the two arenas we had in the quest are two of several others arenas that are in the full boss fight. From what they've said, that there's, like, at least, like, 5, like, arenas that you fight through, which are all, like, destroyed versions of real places.
Right.
So I think it becomes clear, and maybe that's just a relic of they developed the boss fight with a vague idea as to how that fit into the quest, and then once they're fully like implementing what it actually was in the quest, it just got a little lost in.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment with that, and I also just want to say to people doing the quest, don't read anything into what this boss fight is going to be. As far as I'm aware, all the mechanics that are going to be in the actual boss fight are sufficiently different than what we saw in the quest, to the point that there won't be any of this here.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah,
that's a learning they've really had with these quests that introduce boss fights. Is if you want the boss fight part to be an event, like they clearly want Amascut to be with the world first race, yada yada yada, you can't put it in the quests, even if you want to be using assets and
so you need a different boss fight for that, even if it's just the quest one.
So you might need to make different gameplay bits. You can use the same assets, but they have to be like different mechanics. And it seems like that's and this has been evolutions from Vorkat, from Gate of Elysium.
And I think they finally got it right in this one.
Yeah, getting closer every time. Yeah. So we'll see how they are when they do the twin Blood Knights and Haven Knife.
Yay! All right.
In a year.
Moving on from that, at the end of the boss fight, Icthlarin appears and effectively says, "Stop, what's going on?" And it gets to a point that Amascut kills Icthlarin.
Yeah, he jumps in to save us, and she sort of hits him instead.
Right. She goes to kill us because she's so mad at us,
and then ends up killing him.
No, he dives in front. He takes the bullet because he's the best boy. He's World Guardian's best friend.
I have a really good quote from Modzilla from 5 hours ago.
All right.
Where he said when they were recording the voice acting for Amascut, immediately following this moment, the description given to the voice actor was, "You've gone to kill the person you blame for everything, and your brother jumps in the line of the shot, taking their place. You cry out after him in shock of realizing what you've done." And the voice actor's response was, "Oh, she really is a character, isn't she?"
Well, that's an endorsement.
Yeah, so
heck yeah.
Quite a moment. which is, I think, it's what they were going for, right? Like this, after 24 years, they said, of Desert Series, where Amascut's doing all of this stuff. She's been doing this since the God Wars, when she set up the Slayer Masters to start harvesting souls to devour. This has been thousands and thousands of years in the making. It needs to be the biggest shaking to her world,
right?
If they want to get her to the point of regret something, anything,
right? She killed the only person she still likes, basically.
Yeah, she Medusa'd her brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it does get her to reconsider her actions.
Yes. This is the thing that they needed to have happen. This is the actions, speak louder than words. She did the action that she never wanted to do. The one thing.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys noticed, this is also a callback to Slisky's Endgame, where Death was foreseeing the other gods' deaths. Death heralds. And this is... in Slisky's Endgame, he said Icthlarin died with fear in his eyes. And when Icthlarin dies here, it says he turned into stone with fear in his eyes for his friend Hugh.
But also that he died saving others, I think was something
I think that's along the same lines. So we're pulling all the stops here. This was Icthlarin's foretold death.
Yep.
Cool. I didn't pick up that one.
No, I didn't either. But, did anybody think this was for real? I did.
No.
I did. I did.
I did for a second. Which I think is good.
It is good. I stopped in that moment and took a screenshot and started messaging around to people. Granted, I was of the people I knew furthest along the quest, so I was absolutely spoiling it. And I was trying to mark it like, look at this later maybe, but what the hell is happening here? I think I sat in it longer than maybe the game intended because I stopped progressing dialogue at that moment.
Yeah, that's fair, because that is a huge moment.
It is. Well, and I think it was Mod Shrike said this, where like it's a big moment for Amascut as a character, but it also is a big moment for the player, because Icthlarin is one of the most beloved side characters. Like, who doesn't like Icthlarin?
Exactly. I didn't think it would be the end, because we had some of Tumeken's power inside us, and I figured that we would be using that to save him, because they can't let us keep that power. I mean, they did that with World Guardian and they took it away. So I was expecting, I've got Tumeken's power inside me, I'm going to revive him. But I like how they actually did it.
Well, my thought there was, like, gods can't be brought back. Gods don't have an afterlife.
Mm.
And Icthlarin is, as we reveal shortly, a little bit special because of his connection to Tumeken. But, thinking about it for more than 30 seconds, I'm like, obviously they're not going to kill off Icthlarin because he's a quest NPC, he's a quest giver, he's
necromancy.
He's a necromancy character, he's a City of area task guide. Like, there's all these scripts, there's all these logistical reasons why they're not going to take him away. But in the moment, I will fully admit, I had that thought of, holy shit, they just killed Icthlarin. Which I think is amazing, because, like, something that I've believed for a long time and I've started walking back on is the idea that if you know how something's going to end, it robs it of impact. I used to believe that, and I don't believe that anymore, and I think this quest is a good indicator of why that's not true. Because good writing can bypass that.
Yeah, it's part of the reason when I read a book, I read the last page before I start it.
You don't.
I do.
Oh my god.
To your point, I think in contrary to your point, Zerdones, they do replace Icthlarin in a place in the world after this quest.
That's true.
Which is they can do it if they really want to.
That's true.
I think, despite thinking it was real in the moment, they did enough clever plot work and world building work with the Tumeken's nature, with we have to get rid of Tumeken's power because of it was given to us at the very least, if not also Amascut. Like they put the right stones in motion that when you revive Icthlarin, it makes sense because he was of Tumeken, who has, as we've identified, that same splintering soul feature that it seems like Zaros and Saren had. And it seems like Tumeken Super has, right, because he splintered his soul into the desert demigods, and as well as 2 ways into his children. Like, it's not a far leap to think, okay, maybe his children can also spawn pieces of their soul. That's well set up, as well as, like we said, we got the power of Tumeken for the boss fight, so that makes sense. We have to get rid of it because I don't think they're trying to do World Guardian stuff, especially.
No, absolutely not.
It's up the backside of a finale. Like, you don't want this to be requisite knowledge going forward, so it also makes sense from that side. So they did the legwork that the revival works for me. I have seen complaints that, it didn't mean anything because you just revived him instantly. I think that's a bit of a...
I think it's reductive.
It's reductive. It's a snap assessment. I think that, and probably it's largely done in other media bits badly to make that the case. But I think that the right stuff was done here, that it works.
It made total sense to me that, because we had to get rid of... I mean, we can't be walking around with God power again. Icthlarin has been our ally all the way through. He's that one loyal god that, you can... Him and Death, I think, are the two that you can trust the most.
Yeah.
I was shocked. Oh, hang on, she killed him, and then I thought, oh well, okay, we're gonna get rid of this power. We're gonna revive him. So, it made total sense to me.
And at the end, that was enough to get Amascut to reconsider the path that she was on. And I think having her,
she had to make a sacrifice.
Right, she had to make that sacrifice. Come to the realization herself. I think tying all that together is the farthest you can get from anything ever being hand-wavy. And the reason I mention that is I know in storylines in the past, people have mentioned that, one aspect or another of the conclusion might have felt a bit arbitrary or a bit hand-wavy, but I didn't get any of that from this.
No.
So I was very pleased. Is there anything else here before we go on to rewards and tying this up?
The one other thing that I'll point out about Amascut's redemption is it's not... I found it interesting that it's not just, I did a really bad thing, oh no. It's, I did a really bad thing, why did you do that? And that sort of twigs in her, oh, I've been thinking about this wrong this whole time. Yeah, like it's not just that shocked into becoming good again. It's shock, I did something, stop, think, Icthlarin, you did this because you believe this human is worth saving. I don't believe humans are worth saving. Why?
And
maybe I'm wrong.
She considered, what if I was wrong?
It's big whenever a person does that, but it's even bigger when you have a character on the level of power of something that Amascut has does that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially when she's been in this path for thousands of years.
I don't think it's unfair to say, well, how it was a relatively quick U-turn from like the 1,000 years thing. Granted,
I think that's you're not wrong. It's one of those unavoidable.
Living in time. We're people living in time. It has to happen on our screen in that level.
Yeah.
Like we can't say, and 100 years later, and pop the screen.
No,
but also that it was that shock factor that. Yeah. Hey, Icthlarin's dead. It's, oh, Jesus, what have I done?
Right. That covers a lot of gaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she has to give up her power, too. Like, it's not like she just turns... Like, she sacrifices something, at the very least. And the characters, after the fact, when you're able to talk to some of them around the courtyard...
Yes.
Apmeken is very much, like, not for forgiving her. And
nope.
I'm here for it. Like, I'm happy that they have differing opinions about how that just went down. Honestly, Apmeken scares me a little bit. I feel like she has the potential to go on the vengeance path, but I don't think we're going to go that way.
They won't, because they're family.
Right.
Like, well, they may not go the vengeance path. They may go a conflict path.
Conflict path.
But that wouldn't make sense with where the storyline is and what the options are going forward.
I think the storyline's fairly put to bed. I like that they've left it on. There's still tensions.
You can come back if you want to and have something happen. But
exactly.
Yeah, we've wrapped it up. But yeah, there's a crack in the door, and yeah, I mean, Krondos is just that laid back. Yeah, okay, cool, no worries, and Apmeken's going,
just chilling in the pool.
Screw that. I'm not forgiving after what she did to my monkey mates. There's no way I'm forgiving her.
Yeah, I do like that Apmeken brought that up, because that is kind of an inherent problem with that redemption arc, where you set up this villain as being so evil. Like, I think Star Wars runs into this with Darth Vader, for example, where you set up this character as being just the absolute worst, and then they're instantly forgiven at the end of the story.
Well, that's a problem with Star Wars.
Weird. It's a problem with a lot of media.
I was going to say, it's not just Star Wars that happens on. There's a lot of shows that they do that. And it's like,
all right. Well, let's move into the rewards and our rating then. We are over the 2-hour mark, which is allowed for the quest conclusions, which only happen every few years. 3 quest points, 1 million XP spread over 4 lamps of 250k each for skills greater than 85, which is big and huge and nice. The skybox, the boss fight, a desert outfit for our lorehound.
It's very cute.
Enhanced XP from Divine Carpet Dust, which I totally forgot was a thing.
Yeah, I never used that.
4 times, so like it's actually maybe worth your while if you're not using it from.
Yeah, or if you might have full rep, which I don't even on my main, but that's a topic for another day.
I've got full rep on my GIM, but I never use the carpet. It's just not something I've ever really.
Also, the 4th room in the Sunken Pyramid, which can be purchased for 3,000 Slayer points. Pern, I know that's the one you want.
That's well. If I didn't have 200 mil in on my main, I'd be racing through this to get that. But certainly something I'll be looking at on the GIM. I think that's I've always called we need another room, and to have it as a reward on a quest like this makes so much sense and absolutely brilliant. And I mean, I'm not a big person on XP I know everyone loves their XP, and I'm it's not like I'm going to destroy the lamps. Thank you, Dungeoneering. 1 million XP on that was very handy. But yeah, I think for me that is the biggest reward.
Yeah,
interesting.
And of course, the boons from a quality of life. These are just the statues outside of the Menaphos lodestone area. You can activate them all at the same time. Het gives 5% base life points. Apmeken gives any nearby players a 1% XP boost for 1 hour by doing any emote. The boon of Krondos is 2% chance of gathering additional materials while skilling, and Scabrous is completing any clue scroll gives a 1% chance of finishing the clue scroll trail entirely.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yes. I know, I love that one. And you don't have to go back each week. You just do it and it's done.
And you can have them all on.
I was surprised by how, I was surprised that they're permanent, and I was surprised you can have all 4 of them at once.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that.
I think it's powerful. It raises the baseline of a lot of stuff in the game, and largely, I think they're boring. Which
is why they can do that.
Have to be the worst thing.
Exactly.
I don't think they're incredibly exciting. I think the Het, Krondos, and Scabrous ones are powerful but boring. I think the Apmeken one, exclusively the one where you can do the emote, just encourages a level of community interaction that we haven't had in ever, that I think alone
especially
makes
because it's also overheads.
You can do overheads, you can do regular emote, you can give it to players that haven't done the quests. As long as they're not an Ironman, it seems like. You can just give people a 1% XP boost, which I think is really fun. That's the fun part. The rest of it, I'm like, Yeah, I'm happy I got it. Like, I think this is account goal, yada yada yada. I don't think those change my perception on anything.
No, they're just there.
The boon of Zaros is awesome to me.
Okay, maybe me not being a clue person, I'm sleeping.
I think the fact that it's only a 1% means it's one of those like kind of cool things but it's not like game changing.
It's not game changing, but if I
it's nice.
I'm running an elite clue, and all of a sudden, bang! It's open up, and it's like, whoa, it's a 1 in 100 chance, and it's not so common that it's going to ruin clues, but it is that nice wow moment.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
And it doesn't look like as a GIM I can give the boost because I'm standing here giving it, standing next to someone and they're not getting it.
Yeah, because we might be able to give it to our own group members, but that's about it.
It'd be cool that if it worked within the group. I think that'd be really
cool. Okie dokie. Rating out of 5. Pern?
4.5.
Avernick?
5.
Zerdones?
I'm debating between a 4 and a 4.5. I think I'm going to go with Pern 4.5.
All right. I don't do this often. I don't remember the last time this was, but this is a 5.
Gasp.
Yep.
And the way
I can still say that,
the way I do that is that a 4 is a good quest that ticks all the boxes of what it's said to do on the tin when we're going into it and what we expect. 5 is when it exceeds that. And this exceeded that in terms of the world building and the lore that it presented and showing how modern RuneScape quests can do what quests used to do before the gods came back on the scene and doing it in a way that is adaptable to the modern game. And because of that, that's why I go to the 5 for this one.
I like the way you put it, that it's something that exceeds expectations.
Certainly exceeded expectations.
I don't think this is a perfect quest, but it was above and beyond what I was hoping it would be, especially considering the foundation.
Exactly.
And for that, it's a 5.
It's definitely going on the S tier of the desert list.
which there was like one of them, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think there was one, and I feel like we put one on there just because one needed to. We couldn't make all of them C tier.
That might have been pre-Ode. Like if I made it now, it'd probably be absolutely this on S and maybe Ode.
Yeah.
All right. And then I guess just a question of where we go next. This is done. Havenhithe, I guess, is the next storyline, but we'll probably have some intermediate non-Havenhithe quest.
We're due for Modluma's Star Sprite quest.
The Star Sprite quest is slated for later this year.
And then we're going into Havenhithe.
And then Havenhithe, which Modzura is working on the first chapter of. Currently.
Yep.
As far as, I think we mentioned it earlier, when we were saying where do we go next for a quest finale, I feel like it's hard to say anything directly following. Like, it's not going to be the next quest, right?
No, absolutely not.
I think that what we were saying around, like, I think we have teasing at a larger Titans and Erebus entity thing going on in relation to Moya. I think those elements will carry forward, and I personally expect to see them at the Vampirium stage of the next storyline.
That was my thought after going through everything.
I don't expect to see him during the Havenhithe part, though. I think Havenhithe is going to be very much that like fort level, low stakes, like you're working with a village,
like what we saw in Varlamore, the first 2 Varlamore batches, basically.
Yes, yeah. And that's going to set the stage for characters maybe we care about, stakes, and building up the plot. By the time we get to Vampirium, we'll be back to the point where we can tie some of these higher concept storyline spanning ideas.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep. Any major dissension?
Nope, I'm 100% with you on that one.
Yep.
All right. And with that, what have we been doing? The answer is the quest. The answer is the quest.
Good answer.
I don't know that anybody else has anything beyond that, but I will say that this week was a questing marathon for me. Because I did everything from Morning's End Part 1 to Plague's End.
Group Iron Man.
On the Group Iron Man.
Mainlining the Elf Quest.
Yeah. So
I've been dipping my toes into fish flingers and I hate it.
Oh my god. Bless your heart. That is horrible.
I only have so many trim requirements left, and it was on.
Yeah, I was about to ask, are you going for trim? Because that's the only reason anyone should be doing fish flingers.
8 requirements left, and this is one of them, and I was like, well, this is one that's... I'm using this one as an excuse for why I'm not doing the other. Well, if I do the others, I would still have to do fish flingers.
Are you using Alt-1, or are you doing it manually, pen and paper?
Oh, there's Alt-1?
How do you do Alt-1?
There's this thing called public chat, apparently.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not using. I've never used Alt-1, but largely I feel like if you go on the fish flingers chat open, people usually say
it's easy.
When they figure it.
Yeah, they call pretty reliably.
Yeah.
So
all right.
I haven't had to use Alt-1 yet.
I will come back more about the Prif stuff later on next time we do the GIM check-in, but I just wanted to report that because that was big, huge. It was the second thing I put on my Group Iron Man goal list on day 1 next to Invention. It's finally done.
Yeah, basically myself, the quest, and I did a whole ton of clues to get us to Luck of the Dwarf Rings. I didn't realize. For some reason, I thought Alchemical Onyx needed the
Hydrix? No.
The Hydrix. So that's why I was pushing. I go, hang on, I can do this. So, yeah, once I've realised it's just that, it was just work on that, and I'm working on a third one for us. So, hopefully, by the end of August, we'll have a Luck of the Dwarves and a Grace of the Elves for every member.
Nice.
That's my goal for this month.
Nice, and you need to go, so you can go. We just have achievements and the pick of the week left if you need to do. But thank you
very much
for being here and providing your insights.
Yep. And get this dog down to the vet. So you guys all have a good one.
Okie dokie. Thanks, Baron.
Bye.
All right. So with that,
I have a what have I been doing?
Oh, you
before
do.
we move on.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no worries. So long-time listeners, I haven't been on in a while, but long-time listeners will remember that I've been slowly working on Insane Reaper, which is all boss logs.
Oh my god. Where are you?
In release order, because I hate myself. Well, that's my update. Last time I was on the show, I was working on the Corporeal Beast, and I am pleased to report that I am done the Corporeal Beast. Finished him in May. Final kill count was just over 6,600 with 19 sigils. 19 sigils.
That's not fun.
Well, it's pretty AFK, actually. So it's not actually all that bad. It's more just very demoralizing because sigils are so rare, and the way they work, like, all sigils are on a separate drop table, so it's a 1 in 500 roll for the sigil table, and then from there it's a 2 in 5 to get a spectral, 1 in 5 for an arcane, 1 in 5 for an Elysian, 1 in 5 for a divine. So it's already very rare to get any sigil at all, except for me, apparently. Again, 19 sigils. But then once you get a sigil, by the time you get to only having 1 left, anything that's not that is just a dagger to the heart. It hurts so bad. The divine sigil was the last one I was waiting for, and everything other than that, every other sigil I got, I thought I was losing my mind. But we got through it. Corp is done. I'm now on to Nex, which means I can't AFK anymore. And my
the worst.
My output has slowed considerably.
It's not a bad boss.
It's not, especially not with necromancy. It's actually quite easy. I'm consistently down to 2.5 minute kills. I usually power burst. I usually Vitpot ice prism.
Yeah.
And so I use 1 dose of overload gets me 2 kills. 1 dose of Vitpot per kill, and I'm basically revoing. I'm not even really putting that much effort into it. It's just moving and target switching. But I'm about 350 KC and 10 of 21 for log. No pet and a whole bunch of uniques.
You should get some good money from that, though, at the end.
I should, although I'm going to hold on to a bunch because I want to make the
Masterwork stuff?
Masterwork stuff. And I'm expecting we're going to need probably Nex Virtus stuff. Pernix stuff for the Masterwork ranged gear.
Yeah, that would be a smart shout.
So I'm holding on to a lot of that.
Very expensive recent.
Oh yeah, Virtus is really big.
How's your combat achievements looking at next? Do you have any?
Very good, actually. I made a concerted effort to get those, and I actually bought tier 95 Necro gear to help with that.
Oh,
so I now
very
have
nice.
I now have full Necro gear. Dropped a couple bill.
Cold Prison one?
I did do the Cold Prison one. That was one of the last ones I had.
Struggle.
I did that one. I was actually really angry because I had one kill where I was literally one tick off of doing a full skip. If I had realized what I was doing and I had target cycled and hit an ability, I would have skipped Ice Prison, but I didn't, so I got the Ice Prison. But I finally got it by bloating and just kiting.
Okay.
So I let bloat and my conjures whittle her down so she couldn't get a... well, I'm running around so she can't get auto attacks off.
Gotcha.
And then
That's
bloat Glacies.
So you're going to, by the end of this, you're going to become the PVM person. Because you got to do Virago, Solak.
I do got to do Virago.
We're not letting you off, Shane. You're the PVM person.
I'm
definitely going to be a lot more on PVM by the time this is over.
And that's the thing I was winking towards because, I just kind of stepped into that kind of naturally, and it was always at a mid to high tier. But if you're going to be doing Virago and Solak for log, welcome to PVM week.
Amascut
and Amascut, raids. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of PVM. To answer your question, Avernick, I have all of Nexus combat achievements except for Master Speed Killer.
Okay.
121 is Black Magic.
Okay.
Yeah, Master Speed times start getting into ludicrous stuff.
My PB is 213, and I was astonished to get that. I didn't think I was going to get that.
When you get to Durzag and Yaka, your goal to beat is 101 for the full log. That's what I did.
Your God.
Jeez. I think I did a
whole
bunch of math
them, and I have one item.
I think I have 2 kills at Yakamaru ever, and I have no. Because I did a full raid to get my Reaper achievement, so I have 2 kills.
Oh, okay.
I did a whole bunch of math or a bunch of simulations to get expected drop rates for all these bosses. My sim of raids put expected kill count at 550.
That's about right. For where you should be, it's about 550. Most people go into the 600 to 700 range.
Yeah, and that's also assuming 1 reset per raid.
Yeah.
Which that might change because there was talk about removing the raids lockout, and if they do that, that may change things. Because
if they do that, 2 things happen. It doesn't matter anymore for the tank armor because if you want that tank armor, you need it for the specific effect. But there's other tank armors you can get now, and the other thing that happens from that is the codices for Corruption Shot and Corruption Blast just drop to a couple mil each.
Yeah, they go to nothing,
30 to 40.
like all the others.
Yeah. But,
yeah.
Okay. Zerdones is on the Amascut team next week.
And hopefully not going to embarrass myself.
We're totally going for the world's first mode, right?
Hell yeah.
All right.
Get that
what I signed up into?
Aura.
Shoot.
Hey, you did hard mode in the Katra. You silence over there.
Yeah, after 24 hours.
Okay, we got a week to do hard mode Amascut.
It'll be fine. Us 3 and just, find 2 others. If I can get Thaxi onto his main, we'll be good.
Yeah, get Thaxi, get Bears. We'll be fine.
Bears is busy. He's going for the hard mode thing on Monday morning. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Good for him.
He's going for actual worlds first.
Yeah. Well, after he's gotten it once, he can tell us how to do it.
Yeah.
Achievements-wise this week, added Darkmoor with 120 summoning on the 30th, Ormean with 99 dungeoneering on the 28th, and Chimney Axer with 99 defense on the 26th. Congratulations, everyone. And
Very
to
nice.
bring this show to conclusion, Avernick, you bring a pick of the week that I'm not going to click on because last time I clicked on a YouTube video and showed it on here, YouTube did not like that. So the video is called I Tried to Make Something in America.
Yeah, so I've weaseled out of picks of the week for quite a while now, but a couple of weeks ago I was watching this video. Next time I'm on, this is my pick of the week. So this is my pick of the week. It is a video by the YouTube channel Smarter Every Day, which is engineering and science-based channel, which goes into broad topics about it. I feel like this channel's been going on for like at least a decade, so it covered everything from how nuclear power plants work to how to do like injection molding, to how molten glass acts, to rockets. A lot of nerdy engineering stuff, trying to bring it to a more general audience, just like how these things work, why they're built the way they are, why the different industries became what they are. But this video in particular, called I Tried to Make Something in America, is a bit of a video diary of a long process where the person that runs the channel, along with some collaborators, were trying to make a product using American manufacturing, partly during COVID times when that became a very prevalent issue. I think it's highlighted in the video that like there were big issues in America being able to make masks during COVID, and certain local people spun up little manufacturing things in their garage just to make masks because
every box of masks that I opened had a Chinese manufacturing label in there for the quality control thing.
And if you were at the top of the food chain in those supply chains, like you were a little screwed, right? So that it highlighted a problem, and so they came together to see if they could make something in America. The thing they decided to make was a product that someone was a little passionate about. It was a charcoal or a grill scrubber. Typically, grill scrubbers have bristles on them.
Something as simple as a grill scrubber is what we're talking about here, folks.
It's a handle with a thing at the end. Typically, a grill scrubber has bristles at the end, which, if you've ever used a grill and had a scrubber, people will say, don't use those because sometimes the bristles can end up in the grill and then end up in your food, and they are very pointy and hard, and if you swallow one, you could puncture something in yourself. So the scrubber they're trying to make, yes, very bad. The scrubber they're trying to make has chainmail at the end. So it's a handle, it's a plastic piece at the end, and then chainmail wrapped around that plastic piece, with like a small rope so you can hang the guy at the other end of the handle. So it's like 5 parts total, and they're trying to make each of these 5 parts in America, and every single one of them has huge supply chain issues. Whether it's there's no manufacturing facility that they can contract to make any quantity of a certain part. Injection molding seemed to be plastic injection molding, which is when you put molten plastic into a cast of the part you want to make. First of all, finding a place that did the injection molding that they could contract was few and far between in America. And there was nowhere in the country where they could get the actual block made that was the inverse cast of the part. That had to be outsourced to a different country. And the whole supply chain thing persists throughout all the parts. It's a long video, a lot of trials and tribulations, and largely just that the country has lost a lot of their ability to do this as they've prioritized other kinds of industries and work. And I don't know if there's many lessons to take other than we need to start building up our ability as I'm an American, so speaking a little personally, like we're very dependent on other countries for manufacturing.
No, it's a North American problem entirely, and European too, if we're being honest.
I didn't want to speak for the Canadians.
No, it's a Canadian problem. I mean, it's To the extent that it is a problem, it's kind of a global problem because the global West is very reliant on places like China and India for manufacturing capabilities, but they're also very reliant on us for certain industries as well. So, like, it's...
Sure.
I take some umbrage calling it a problem because really, like, what you're describing
like,
is
if
trade.
we were a fully globalist world and we were all working together,
it would be no
not
issue.
a problem.
It would be no issue.
No issue.
And
I think a large problem that this video points out is that it's an issue in that if something like COVID happens, you can't rely on your neighbor. You can't rely locally within your town. You have to... When things become hard, your only option is to look. And sometimes that's... When things are good, that's fine. When there's a global pandemic and you're having trouble shipping things and maybe you're not the top billion people to get first access to things like a product or a vaccine or something, you might want the ability to be a little more insular, to be more readily available.
Yeah. And, you know, this is a multi-generational problem. It's not something that can be solved overnight because the education system does not exist to build the kind of people that's necessary to run this kind of economy. And then on top of that, the demand for that is not here in North America because of the wages that are inherently required for these sorts of jobs to be in place. Those are just two of the many things that prevent this sort of thing from happening and working correctly. I remember a story back from when Apple was doing the last Intel Mac Pro in the US. They needed to change some screws on it fairly late in the design stage, and they couldn't find a quick and easy streamlined path to get their new screws for this Mac. Whereas had they been doing this manufacturing in China, they would have simply designed the new screw, and within 36 hours, that new screw would have been integrated into their supply chain. And that sort of thing just really is not built for it in our countries. And when China works, it's wonderful in that regard. And I say that with the stuff that we sent out to the Patreon people, is that was a made-in-China product because of what it was. That sort of thing is illegal to make in Canada and the US because of the machinery required, which was a fun thing I discovered on that. But the company that I worked with on that had the most impeccable customer service. So when it works and when it can be used for a product that you want, it's perfect. And you see why people do it. Good customer service, good pricing, everything in that regard. But if you want to look and you want to do it at home for, geopolitical reasons, security reasons, health reasons, what have you, it becomes a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and I didn't want to... I know this is like a bit of a political hot topic recently.
Little hot button these days.
100%. And it is an issue, either way you look at it. I think that the way it's approached could be a little... currently, domestically, could be more systematic and take up many steps back. I think that we've largely, I think largely in the West, demeaned positions in these fields.
Yeah,
like
I'll agree with that.
And how we pay them.
Yeah,
and I think they're just like any other industry. There are entry level positions where you're more so running things, established processes and stuff like that. But there's higher level positions like this video details. We don't have the capability not only to run these manufacturing plants, but to create the tools for these manufacturing plants. Like there's larger engineering jobs to be had in these fields that we've also given up because we don't have the manufacturing plants. We don't have people that design tools for manufacturing.
Yeah, and
there is a chain of professional development that could exist here that we've ceded because we didn't want to just pay the lowest tier, and then that's eroded the rest, everything above it.
Yeah, and then, like I said with that, it's not something you fix overnight. I think this is a generational thing.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Avernick. In the video, they ultimately made it, right? They did ultimately have a product.
Yes, with a lot of exceptions, a lot of caveats.
How much did they talk about how much they would retail that product?
It is currently for sale.
How much?
Let me get on Amazon. It currently costs on Amazon.
At this point, I'm just going for the longest show record, by the way.
I think we can manage that.
Honestly, I haven't seen it. $85.
$85. Okay. So the reason I asked this question is because fundamentally the reason this problem exists, the reason there is so much fundamentally the reason so much manufacturing was offshored, particularly consumer manufacturing was offshored from the global west to the global east, is because they, especially at that time, and less so now, it's changing, but there is still a gap. You can pay people in China and India pennies to make this stuff, which in turn means companies can sell them here for peanuts. I've pulled up Canadian Tire, and I can buy a coil grill barbecue brush for $20. I can buy a bristle brush for $6.
Yeah, I had to honestly follow their link to find this because I look on Amazon, I search something similar. It's like, oh, here's a $14 version.
Right. So to me, the biggest problem, like if you see this manufacturing gap as a problem, and it's a problem you want to solve, to my mind, the biggest problem that you need to solve isn't the education, it isn't building up the infrastructure. The problem is getting consumers willing to pay for that product.
Yeah.
Or the
have
other
to pay the people making it more.
Or the other pure economic side of it is, and this is something that I was told back in 2009, that if you wanted our countries to compete on the level of the East, like Zardones is talking about, you would need a minimum wage on the order of $2 to $3 an hour, which I don't think is going to fly over here.
You can't sell that.
Live off that. You can't live
you can't live off that.
Yeah.
You can't buy the products you're making off that. That's a problem with, like, iPhone. I mean, it's a problem with a lot of manufacturing in China. The manufacturing employees literally can't afford the products they're making. So, like, to me, that's the fundamental problem, is there needs to be a shift within the consumer culture to accept higher prices and accept cost of quality. I don't know much about engineering manufacturing. My wife recently took up knitting, and so she's become really interested in textiles and like the economics of the textiles market. And like the global textiles industry is so heavily subsidized by this cheap labor that we don't appreciate how much craft goes into making good clothing and how much that craft is worth, which creates a real problem for people. And she does it as a hobby, but if she wanted to turn it into a business, the amount she would have to charge to make the materials and labor worthwhile is so far beyond what people would be willing to pay. Yeah. It's unsustainable.
And I wish there was an easy solution to that.
It's a hard thing to work through. And I'm not going to say how the answer is, but I do think that there are a lot of current problems with it, like you're saying, with cost, and like we were saying, with it's a generational problem. There's learnings that have been lost and that we need to get back on. There's a lot of those things that like people aren't aware of that are currently issues. If you think it's an issue, if you aren't good with everything you're buying coming from all the way around the world in a fragile supply chain.
Yeah, and the biggest that, you know, COVID was one thing, but the next thing that's sitting there is off the coast of China, and it's, you know, Taiwan. If China ever decides to take a swing at Taiwan, we're back in that same sort of situation. Okay, when?
Well, when and if America decides not to send an aircraft carrier to smooth things over.
I'm not taking credit for that one.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I see these things as all intertwined, and you know, it's something that we don't think about enough. And I think that video will do a good job of bringing that to the forefront for anybody who wants to dive into that. So
it's a fun watch. I'm not going to say it is educational, but I mean, this is a YouTube channel that's been going on. Okay, it's entertaining. So.
Yeah, we love our educational YouTube stuff around here for Pickers of the Week. Those are always good.
Absolutely. Yes. Better than most YouTube stuff.
Absolutely. Well, we've been going so long on the show here. My monitor is showing edges from where things used to be on my screen, so that's not a good sign. But
it's a great sign. We won the show competition.
In any case,
victory over ourselves.
In any case, I think that's probably about it for this episode of Update. Anything else from either of you?
This has been a blast.
Meow.
Oh, better answer. That's a better answer.
We were cats all along.
On the internet, nobody knows you're a cat. Shane, you didn't do uwu voice. I said you had to do uwu voice.
No, and it's like you said at the start of the show, furries out, boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Furries out, boys.
We'll be back next week with the full discussion, of course, on Amascut. Bears will be here alongside one of the members of his team working on that day one race. We'll see how far they go. We'll see how far we go. We'll be discussing all that next week. So if you came for the quest but you want the PVM, tune in next week as well. Best way to get that is to subscribe automatically. Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and more, including YouTube as well at youtube.com/RSBANDB. That's pretty much it. Thank you both for being here. Always good having you on, Avernick.
Yeah, it was a good time. Thank you for having me.
And, of course, you as well, Sir Jones. And with that...
Yeah, happy to be here.
And with that being said, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of RSBANDB Update. See you then, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Meow.